last time, but my last time with you guys.
Yeah,
All
Yeah,
right.
Sarah, you missed that one, and
I
that was
did.
that was the first time Nate actually was at his downfall.
Oh
Yeah.
no. It's
Four
because I
No,
times,
wasn't there.
4 times his computer just said nah.
it was just the program to decide to be like, no, we're not going to work today. I'm like, okay. And then changed nothing for last week, and it worked great.
Last week was flawless. We wish you were there.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, Herbie, we
I
didn't
was
get
still,
his opinions on the last round of Irwindale
dude.
ever either. So,
Oh, okay. Um, I thought I had more time between my connecting flight, and I am super glad that I decided to go hang out by the gate. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play some 2K, whatever, just chill and just wait by the gate. And I was doing that, and all of a sudden, like they like start talking on the intercom, and it was like my flight, and I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, I
Dude,
thought I had two and a
LAX
half hours.
is the worst.
Well, I went to SNA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
when I left,
he's a
I
cultured
switched.
person.
Yeah, I know. Like I was like that airport was only 10 minutes away. Thank you, Kegel, for having me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's get it rolling. We already got people here in the chat. What's up, Chris? Um Obviously, this is the first, I think this is the first podcast like post FD for us cuz we've always run them during FD, and my dog
Right.
wants to come say hi as we start it up. We got
Show
Blake in the
dog.
chat. What's up? So obviously this is the first, I guess, as a start of a series that we're going to do is just bringing on all our friends from FD and around the drifting world, and our first guest, and one of my favorite guests already, is going to be Andy Hateley. So welcome to the show, Andy. Woo! I need a. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, come on.
I was like,
Yeah.
I need a I need like buttons to hit like for clapping and
Yeah, we'll
cheering
we'll
and
do the clapping. Woo!
Oh shit.
There it
Woo.
is, dude.
Woo.
the drift
Damn.
wizard. But
I didn't.
no, dude, I
I've never
honestly,
seen them in the room at the same time together.
No,
it's true. What's up, Brandon and Phil?
That's
It,
dude. You never know.
it's crazy, you know. And then like, so Andy, I mean, how long have I known you for? It's been a good minute. Um, like, like 2018, I think 2017, around there. but but like, obviously you've been a great just friend that I've met over the years and stuff like that. But you have been in drifting far longer than I have.
that's wild.
Damn.
Yeah,
And
that's a,
you obviously had just an amazing post that you just made. Actually, we can probably bring it up if you want. Um, the one on Irwindale of you with some footage. Was that a stock 350Z?
Yeah. Oh.
All right. Well, I'm
Time.
gonna quick throw it up because it was a crazy
Wait.
clip. Let me just quick.
Timeout. We just got Brandon Gardner. We can't hear Andy.
What? Hold up. All right.
He is a newcomer. No, it's not you.
It's not you.
no, you're good. We can hear you.
I can hear you. No, it's not you. I see you. I don't know why. No audio for Andy. I don't know why, because I can see you. Your collab cam 3. I see you when you talk.
Oh, he's got chat and everything. Look at you. You moved your setup downstairs.
One sec. All
Shit.
right. Sorry,
This
guys.
guy's
We
a whole.
will.
He's a whole new man.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
just
Hey,
see. Collab cam 3. Hold up. All right.
yes,
Talk real
thank you,
quick.
chat. We are attempting a fix right now.
Andy, can you talk real quick?
All right. Thanks, Ma.
Because
Appreciate.
I can hear him.
I can hear him.
A little late to the party on that comment there, Sal.
Chat needs to help me out here. Can you hear him now? Because he might have changed it.
I'll ask him.
Oh, I should just turn my volume up. Wait, Andy, say hello.
Just not what doesn't even make any sense. All right. Well, now let's see if you're something special with your camera or something or.
Yeah,
Spooky.
no.
Well, in the meantime, I had a question about your 3DZ. You were just drifting stock diff back in the day? Nice. That's amazing to me. True.
A 1,000 horsepower.
How long? Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
Damn, just drive it through and then initiate on that inner clip and
Totally different world.
Yeah.
How
So
long did you have that chassis for?
refrain from asking any questions until we get his fucking camera working. Oh my gosh.
Dad wants us to stay
No, they still
silent.
can't hear. So right now he's telling us about his first drift car, which was apparently a bone stock 350Z, which I'm like blown away by. And by stock, he does mean stock. It was an ECU that changed where it revved to and an exhaust. And like that was it. And that is just blowing my mind. Because when you talk about drifting, like the first couple things you want to do to a stock car is like, working handbrake. You want to upgrade the diff, you want to upgrade the suspension. Did you have stock suspension on that car? That's just that's bananas. I think that's so neat. Would you ever go back to drifting like that? Yeah.
That was like when didn't Prez do that too? And
Perez, hold on. Perez tried it in a
I don't
rental
know.
car, but it was automatic and it was a
Yeah,
Mustang. And I think that's
automatic must.
why he was having a hard time. Was yours manual or was Sam's manual when he rented it? Okay. Boom.
Hmm.
Did they have any idea that's what you were doing to the rental car? Oh my God, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
Hell
That's so
yeah,
neat.
All right,
really.
Andy. If I can have you just quick back up or back out and jump back in. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working. I see you, audio.
Damn,
It's just
easy come, easy go, dude.
yeah, sounds good.
Cool. I mean, this is part of it. We have to like get out the kinks, figure it
It
out.
worked
Our
just
first
fine
guest.
last time,
We
but
can I can hear him. Like it's fine, but
I know we can all hear him, and there's
yeah.
audio like it's going up and down, and I have no idea why in the world it wouldn't work.
Welcome back.
I mean, obviously we can. It's just really the chat's gonna let me know. Um,
No, you're not alone.
We're not alone.
Am I alone?
all right,
Blink once for no and twice for yes.
I'm gonna try for 1 second. Give me a test 1 2. Okay, now I can't hear shit. That doesn't help. index that off. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. I think I know why.
Well, Yang Lang burpee. It came from the underground. That was like a possession one.
All right, Andy,
Oh,
talk to me
yeah,
a quick one too,
I
real
got
quick.
I got that AirPods.
Oh, so now I don't hear him at all.
Yeah, some.
Oh, here,
Yep,
Andy, try
sometimes.
one more time.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
All right, chat. You should be able to hear him now, I think. Please say yes.
He thinks.
I hope.
Come on, boss man.
They're
That's
like
what I'm saying.
they're like 10 seconds behind us. So
They're paying this guy the big bucks.
Yeah.
I just want it to work.
I got Friday.
But all right, we got him now. All right, I figured it out.
Oh, you can hear.
Yeah.
It's not just a mystery.
No, I'm just an idiot. Okay, let's just put it. Okay.
I mean, it does make sense because the Drift Wizard never talks in any of the reels, so
This is
technically nobody knows what his voice sounds like.
This is true. This is true. All right, so
Yeah.
So if
you
you guys
got
care,
echo on me
there's
now,
a
though.
stupid setting I have to change in the back end of an Apple computer in order to make audio work for this platform, and I didn't switch over before the show. So
You had to go into system settings or whatever.
Yep, and
Yep.
it's like how
It happens with my speakers on my Mac at home. Like I gotta
really?
go. They'll be really quiet, and then I go into the settings, and it's like, oh, the speaker, external speaker thing isn't turned up, and then finally I get loud music to annoy my neighbors with.
Yeah. All right. I have the Instagram post, so I'm gonna quick throw that up here so that we can watch Andy. And by the way, I guess before we get to Andy's clip, I just want to say a couple words about Irwindale. Obviously, the news, if you guys haven't heard, like
I don't want to talk about it.
this was the actual last Irwindale FD round. They made it official. We'll pull up the document here in a bit, but this is kind of why we're going to focus on Irwindale for a little bit. And let me switch over so that everyone can see you. And what year is this clip from?
The Z1 is from February 2005. That's the day that I earned my D1 license. Yeah.
So
same thing with the article at the end. That was from that day as well. And that's 2020. Yeah, this is from 2005. Yeah.
John Deere, baby.
Yep. Got that for Christmas from my dad. Yeah.
Oh man. So you said so obviously the chat didn't hear you. So what was done to this thing? What was done to this amazing 350Z that we're looking at right here?
Techno Square ECU reflash, and back there Yoshia, Taka's girlfriend or wife, I'm not sure if they got married yet, used to work there, so that was like the first time I met her. So that just raised the RPM limit to 7,000 from 68, I think it was, or 58 to 6,000. I forget. It's been a while.
That's so great. That's got to be an amazing feeling. And you're ripping. Like we can see you ripping in that bone stock car.
Yeah. Yeah. So Irwindale, what was it like the first time driving Irwindale?
Potential for just like destroying the car. This was my only car.
False sound, I guess, and I'm echoing. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I changed something.
Oh no, technical difficulties. I am fully intrigued to as to your story because I think this is so neat and awesome.
Okay, so that doesn't work. How is all sound gone? All
The
right.
first time I was like looking at the bank and I was watching other guys drift it, and I'm like, I think I can do that. And I had my buddy go grab my VX 2000. I have that footage somewhere, but this is the footage from the D1 event right here.
Oh my god.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Your only car, as in, like, let's say it went bad for you this event, like, how are you getting to work on Monday? Like, that much of an only car? That's crazy. What was the next car that you bought after that one?
Dad was a car broker, so he got the car for like super cheap. So he sold it to me for like $1,000 with this smashed front end. And once my Z became like a dedicated track car, I just drove that thing around like this black S14 with a smashed front end. Like
Yeah.
it still worked, but I kept it.
Mhm. That's so great. I think that's one of my favorite parts of drifting, just to be able to have those friendships and have them, like, not only as your friend, but part of your crew and, like, an integral part in your drifting career. That's, like, that's so special to me. And funny enough, small world, because I work for AWE, an exhaust company, and Flat Six is one of our best customers. They're also down there. Yeah, they're great.
Hmm.
All
So,
right. So I'm
how's the audio?
still fucking around with it. It I've literally so it's either we got Andy or I'm getting echoing. So I'm trying to figure out what's causing it.
All of
So
us are echoing, or only one person?
it was you guys, but I need to test and see kind of like what's going on. I apologize, guys. I don't know why today it decided to do this. Ah, man.
It's
Dude,
true.
it's
Yeah.
like for real, cause we were rolling, and it's just one of those days. All right, chat. I need to know, or Herbie, if you want to quick throw this. No, you're on your phone right now, aren't you? All right, so let me
Yeah, but I
throw.
also have I'm propped up on my laptop.
Oh, okay. Herbie, can you just give me a quick 1-2 real quick,
1-2,
and
1-2.
then Andy, you as well.
Damn, he can count high. How you get that like that? Okay, all right, fair.
Yeah,
Damn,
I'm hoping we. So is he not coming through at all?
thumbs don't count. I don't know. Oh, you're asking me. Sorry, I turned that off.
Yeah.
What is
Let me
this?
see.
What is this mic aux 3?
No, I didn't hear him on the fingers.
Man, no echo, but no Andy. Andy,
Yep.
why?
There's
All right,
there's no one coming to the rescue. Now you're not late on that one.
To the right. I mean, well, if you guys can hear me, then the mic is fine. I
No,
guess
you're
it's got.
fine. So the problem
Yeah.
is when I turn on desktop audio number 2 for some reason, Andy works, but then we echo.
Hell yeah.
You need an
Uh,
IT guy.
Is it bad? Should we just roll with the echo?
I don't know.
Is it because we have 4 people in here? Do you want me to graciously bow out for the evening?
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
It's I've played around with stuff, so yeah, he's back
Oh,
now.
we got
No
he's
echo.
back.
So, is he back? So he says you're back. The question is now: is everyone else going to echo? Because I don't show up in desktop audio, but let's say you, Herbie, give me a quick.
1-2, 1-2.
Yeah, so
Mic
echo.
check.
And then
Making
echoes
eat
is
the
back.
cake. Is that
Actually, I have an idea. So I'm gonna quick. I wish I could just pause this stream. Man,
Live is tough.
Live is tough. It's cool. It's neat, but it's really tough. And I'm like itching over here to like.
I know there's so many
Just
topics I
chat
want to
more.
get to.
I know.
All right. Let's see. Let's pop this up. All right, so now I changed this thing. So Andy, can you talk again real quick? I'm gonna see if you are.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
So I wanted to know, like, just a little baby question while we're not really live. Are you looking forward to the tear down, or are you like dreading the tear down? Like, are you excited to like give it a once over, or are you like, I have to tear my whole car down before next year? Yeah. Right, because race car. Are you absolutely knock on some wood? And
Oh, yeah.
are you one of those people that kind of just do the bolts in a pile method, or are you like organize everything as a shelf, everything as a spot? Like, are you labeling everything?
I'm pretty
I
organized
figured it
in my
out.
shop.
I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
Sorry, Andy.
you're good. You're good.
I think I figured it out.
So
All right, guys. Let me know if you guys can hear Andy now, and you can continue your question now, Sarah. So
Okay.
what did you
Yes.
ask him?
I was wondering about whether or not he was looking forward to teardown or sort of dreading it, and it seems like he was kind of like a little bit of both. Like he was excited to get into teardown, but putting it back together was kind of ass. And then, yeah, I asked you if you kind of organize stuff or if you're just like chaotic in your teardown, and Andy was just explaining that.
Yeah, it's organized, but I wouldn't say highly organized. I'm not like putting things in a bag and labeling them and stuff like that. I just have like selected bins. Like this is for engine stuff. This is for stuff on the trunk. This is for interior stuff. So when I put it all back together, I don't have a pile of bolts. I have maybe like 20 or 30 bolts in a small bin that I can recognize, and I've done it so many times that I pretty much know where everything goes.
Right.
So when I look at the bolts, I'm like, all right, well, these are for the water pump. These are for the alternator. This is for the valve covers or whatever. When you put the whole car together yourself, it's pretty easy to recognize all the parts and where they go. So that's not really a major issue. But yeah, it's always a little nerve wracking putting it back together because that's the time when you can like really mess something up. Like if you drop a 10 millimeter socket inside one of the freaking water hoses or something like that. Like everything's got to be pretty meticulous. And I always seal everything up so every hose comes off, and I put little plastic plugs in each hose so that they don't get dust and debris in case I'm doing any fab work around the shop. I'm pretty organized with that in the aspect of reliability. Essentially is my number one concern, to not have issues, when we put the car together and not have to tear it all apart again, because you dropped a bolt in the intake manifold, shit like that, so, which I've done before. It's not fun. Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
God bless the magnet on a stick.
Yeah. Don't trust the magnets if you're using stainless steel bolts, though.
Ooh, okay.
That be a some stainless is not magnetic at all. Some is slightly magnetic, and I don't think there's any that's like very, very magnetic, but when I do my intake manifold bolts, I use the magnetic tool to put them in because I don't want them to fall into the engine. So I hold them on the magnetic tool. I insert the bolt into the hole, and then I twist the magnetic hole to grab some threads. And one of the bolts just wasn't looking right when we were putting the car together in like 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the only bolt that I could find in my bin of long Allen head bolts was a stainless bolt. I didn't think anything of it. I threw it on the magnet. We go to put it in, and it just right in.
Oh no!
Right past the valve, right into this piston. So engine came out. I mean, all the accessories were on. We were just putting the supercharger on. So like everything was together, all the hoses, everything. So took everything apart again. We took the engine down to my engine guys, and then we put it on a forklift, turned it 45 degrees, hanging from like a chain or whatever, so that the piston was level with gravity basically. And then the trick that we used, it was a super long bolt too. It was like 2 inches long or something like that, and it had to come out through the spark plug hole.
Oh
Very
my God.
line and all that. But the trick we used is you put a little of ultra black on like a piece of wire and sort of let it dry to the point where it gets a little tacky, where it's not like the super, it's not dripping off the thing. And then we were able to sort of get the bolt straight in the spark plug hole, and then jam that wire in there and pull it out with the ultra black essentially. Right. So that got her out of there, and I barely made it to that round because it was Orlando. I think was our first round that year, and I think I left on like Monday night or something like that, and I was supposed to be there on Wednesday, and I didn't get there till Thursday morning. We obviously hadn't slept that much because we were pulling the engine apart and putting it back in and all that, and like I was just dying. It was bad all around. Yeah. And then I get there and the car's not running right. The water pump went out on us, and I was giving up at that event. It was bad. Yeah.
How do you keep motivation in those situations when it's just like one thing after another?
You don't, I guess.
That's fair.
You just have no choice. Like this is where I am. This is my life. Like I chose this life. I just got to keep going with it. Some of that.
What else am I gonna do?
Yeah, some of that comes, circle back to skateboarding, to like when you're falling 100 times trying to land a trick. Right. You still have that little bit of like, psychopathic, voice in the back of your head telling you try it again,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's just sort of my personality is to not give up, I guess. Yeah.
A true competitor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think now that we have all the audio working, I think I had the audio working when you were talking about the car. It was just echoey for
Mhm.
the other people, but
Yeah.
let's actually just get to the news though, which is
Mm-hmm.
Irwindale is closing.
Boo.
Yeah.
Big boo.
Boo.
Officially this time, not for
Officially,
the, just like
and
you said, boy who cried wolf type
and so
stuff.
here's just a couple, like, just a minor gripe of mine is, like, we've been hearing it was been the last Irwindale event for the last 6 years, and it's like the boy who cried wolf. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you hear the rumblings every year. Oh, this might be the last year Irwindale, and it's like, okay, yeah, I've heard that before,
Mm-hmm.
and this was actually, and it was kind of a bummer because we didn't really have like a last event at Irwindale Celebration this year. I feel like it was just like it was a great event. Don't get me wrong, fantastic event, lots of people there and stuff like that. But it would have been nice to do like a little send off and stuff.
Yeah, they should have all the cars out there to just do a fat burnout all at the same
Hell
time.
yeah, dude.
That would be sick.
Something.
Yeah.
But,
I'm so shocked that they did nothing. Like I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm
We
not
didn't
sure.
even get
for 100%.
fireworks for FD.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I'm not sure they were 100% even at the event. And like during the driver summit, they were all saying like, yeah, this is, it was like 90 percentile chance, that it was going to be the last event. And I think that they just didn't really know. And I also think that they probably couldn't say anything publicly yet,
True.
Yeah. Until the announcement actually came out. Yeah.
Until Irwindale's official letter, which you see right there, I think they were probably didn't want to step on anybody's toes, with
Fair
that.
enough.
Yeah.
I mean, not for nothing, Jared did say probably a few different times that it was the last Irwindale event, but like, or could it be? He played it off like it's like jokingly, because it again, like it has been said so many times, so it's like really, it was like he's just
it truly is the boy who cried wolf at that point. Yeah.
Well, I guess so. Obviously, you've how many years you said since 2005 you've driven Irwindale, right?
2004 actually would have been my first event there in the parking lot, and then that was with, I forget who was the organizer. It wasn't Drift Day or anything like that, but then Drift Day did several events there, and I think the first one I went to there, we didn't run the FD course, and I think the second and third one we ran kind of, I guess it's the D1 course back then.
Yeah.
But then we ran the full bank and all that stuff, and
yeah.
There was no real requirement. You didn't have to have a roll cage or anything. You could just run that bank. It's kind of surprising.
Yeah,
No
like
Hans,
you said, it's a
no
little sketchy.
Halo.
No, I did it with a factory seatbelt. Like I
Wow.
I had an airbag in the car and shit too.
Wow.
Yeah.
They didn't know till they knew, huh? Like
No,
yeah. No
I mean, you live
worried.
and you learn. I mean, the Hans device is required because what's his name broke his neck at Irwindale. And had to be taken out in a helicopter, and then they're like, maybe we should use Hans devices.
Yeah.
And then Taka got his foot broken at Seattle, and they're like, maybe we should put a foot protection bar there. And then it's all cumulative as far as what happens out on track.
Rules are made.
Brandon Wicknick had that huge fire at Palm Beach, Florida, I think is the track, and that's when they required bladder fuel cells. And it's just what happens out there you can't exactly plan on, and from if I guess fuel cell placement's kind of open, but I mean, like with my fuel cell where it is, like I wouldn't see a need for a bladder fuel cell. I don't think it's ever going to be punctured. It's right above the rear axle, essentially right above the subframe, but things happen, and you never know what's going to happen out there. So props to Kevin for kind of planning ahead and keeping us safe out there. Because
how do you feel about like Dylan's stance on the like he hates the fact that you guys have to run a unibody?
Yeah.
Would you like say that there's no advantage to somebody other than the fact that when it comes to a 5-minute call, if you pull your shit, you could just if you have a section ready to go, you can almost bend that back or do some sort of quick hack job and get it back on the road to do a competition. Whereas, you know, like where, you know, he in the video it looked like he tapped like Trent Beecham, and I'm sure that you've been in a circumstance too where it looks like a very light tap or crash or something, and then the whole car is basically down and out for the next 6 months. Like, just like stemming on from like the safety things, like would you think that that's like a crazy direction to go? Or like, I mean, I understand like the factory sense behind FD in a way, but at the same time you're still running all the same doors, the same fenders, like whatever, you know.
I think it gets too complicated because unless you have like a sort of spec chassis like NASCAR has or like something like that has, it gets complicated to the point where like that chassis might be more dangerous than a factory car that's surrounded by a bunch of sheet metal that's kind of designed to collapse and crumple and stuff like that.
And if you've seen a NASCAR rule book, man, you got to be within millimeters of things.
That's why they also read the Bible, dude. They're all Bible. They love those big books.
It gets complicated, and it's hard to say like what's more dangerous or what isn't. You know, kind of like when we used to be able to reinforce shock towers to the cage. You know, and then they found out through other forms of racing that if a really bad accident happens to that corner and that tube breaks off of the roll cage, it can come right into the driver. So it's just not, and you lose a lot of crumple zone there. I remember seeing Odie's car after a really bad wreck, and this was after that rule had been taken out, and the shock tower was touching the bottom of the windshield. That's how much it had collapsed. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So I mean, like having that zone to allow that collapse, like that's just saving our asses essentially from ending up in the hospital. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with like where we're at right now. I'd like to see two frame subframes because I don't think it's really a competitive advantage. And I know that like it's not a case with the BMWs, but with some of the S chassis and stuff like that, it's just harder and harder to find subframes.
Yeah.
And as someone who's just barely I'm not in competitive anything. I'm just barely in the fun stuff. I've gone through 3 subframes already. So I would love for that to become more of a thing.
Yeah, and front subframe would be nice to be 2-frame specifically because there's just more room for headers to pass through. It's easier to work on the car. It just comes into more complications of like how do you measure that and make sure people aren't fudging their pickup points a little bit here and there, you know? So you would have to have like a template for every subframe. You'd have to have specific measurements from points on the chassis that you could measure and stuff like that. So it opens up a whole can of worms that I understand why Kevin doesn't want to do it because it's going to make his job a lot harder, you know?
For sure.
But yeah, I think that would be, I would accept that direction for sure. But like full 2-frame chassis, I'm skeptical on how complicated things would get with the rule book and with different.
It would definitely turn more into like a stock car type style.
Yeah, and you'd have to have different rule books for different chassis. You'd have to do a whole bunch of weird stuff to make it all work. And
then like the guys that don't have the fabrication funds or whatever, or the know-how to actually provide that type of chassis, like I mean, now you still have to have rules for those types of guys. I guess
Yeah, I mean, we don't want just the chassis itself to cost us, $50,000 of welding
and time and labor and
it could get complicated and expensive really quick. So I'm kind of happy with where it's at because then it allows someone who drove their S14 in Pro-Am to be like, all right, well, let's slap a supercharger or a bigger turbo on this and go drive FD, and that's all they need to do. It's pretty good where it's at. Yeah.
So obviously you've driven Irwindale over 20 years now. Do you have a favorite moment or something that you will always remember the track for?
Probably that video of me getting my D1 license, to be honest, because that was just the first day I decided to take it seriously. And I did we had 2 laps, and I think we actually had 3 laps back then, but the first lap was terrible. Like I didn't get it to step out on the bank, and I just didn't make it through the course. I looked like an idiot. So that second lap, I was just pissed, and I was like, all right, I'm going to throw down, and it worked really well. And I remember coming bank and being like, oh shit, I'm gonna hit the wall. And then I was like, oh wait, I'm not. And I just blipped the throttle and got back on it. And it was just, a magical moment to hear Tsuchiya, call your name, like Andrew Hatari. And I was like, what? That's me. I'm like, yeah, it was cool. Yeah. And I was the only one there that wasn't, wearing, a fancy racing suit with a bunch of logos on it and driving some super a hopped up machine, I guess, but they all had 400 freaking horsepower back then.
Right.
Wasn't as impressive as they are today, but it was, I was dreaming of driving something like that when I had my Z, and it was a magical moment for sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Irwindale for me has always been a good way to end the season. It's always it puts such a good exclamation point because I feel like it's the pinnacle of American drifting.
Yep. Yeah, it's where it started here for us, basically. I mean, the first professional drift event in the U.S. was there, and I hope last one too when the EPA takes us over.
Exactly.
Stop that.
But it also is like a very American track, though. The speed, the fact that it's an oval track, and just the sheer danger that this track has with the walls and the speed that you're coming at, like. Yep. It defines American drifting for me. Obviously, now in FD, we drive all kinds of different tracks, road courses, even the figure eight and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of different tracks that obviously FD drives, but I always felt like Irwindale was like, okay, if you actually want to win FD, though, you got to go do it at the most American track at the end of the year, or basically, and, we've seen so many Formula Drift championships won or lost at Irwindale. It's a track that takes no prisoners. I mean,
no, it'll make you or break you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a sad day, obviously, to see it be done. But
I'm gonna go steal a piece of the wall when they're doing the destruction.
You're gonna have to, man.
I think you earned it. I think they should gift you a piece of the wall.
You sure you don't have a piece of that already in your car somewhere?
Yeah.
Just like the little bits,
That's for sure.
You can't tell. It's like sand at that point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so obviously this news does bring up an interesting conversation though. Okay, so where next? What's the next spot that they're looking at,
That's the question. We talked about that in the Drivers' Summit. I don't know if I'm at liberty to talk about it, but they did say somewhere in SoCal for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where it was.
I heard a rumor. Should I say it?
Yeah, you say the rumor that
you're saying it, not me. So
yeah.
Okay. Hold
my hands are free.
Yeah.
Just like, wait, hold on, let me pull up a text message with.
I'm literally doing that right now. I heard it's going to be at Kern County Raceway.
I doubt that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's too far from LA. I don't think they want to go there because they won't see the numbers that they see at Irwindale or anything like that. I think it's about 2.5, maybe 3 hours out of LA, and it's literally just farmland. Like it, farmers go there, But LZ World Tour did their thing there, right? Yeah. So, and that attendance was pretty darn good. I was there for that one. Right. So it's not like you can't get a crowd there, but I think they want to be near a city center, kind of like what Irwindale is, or Long Beach, where you're, 30 minutes from the airport and 20 minutes from downtown, or, that type of thing. So
I
don't know where. Yeah. There's not really a good venue, so we'll see where they go with it.
Yeah. I mean, it brings up a whole lot of interesting ideas, but it's definitely, I think, understood that they're staying in the California area, at least. And
that's from our understanding. Yeah, I mean, that's what's been said. So hopefully they make an announcement soon and we can stop sitting here, twiddling our thumbs about it,
Right.
ABS, dude. Everybody's going to have to tow their stuff through the desert.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah, ABS.
I just went there for
terrible
the first
place.
time. And I never knew how terrible of like a 2.5 mile trek into that track.
Yeah.
Like, man, people tow through here.
Dirt road with potholes and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All your poor axles on your trailer, I just imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
middle of nowhere.
It'll be interesting, like I said, to see where they go with this. But I obviously I brought you on here because we haven't even got to any like the stuff that I wanted to talk about or like
the juicy
questions
stuff?
that we had.
Yeah,
you know,
let's
and
get
stuff.
into some Andy
because
topics.
Okay.
because like obviously there's just so much news that broke like today and the last couple of days. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, damn, like Andy's the
Yeah,
we
perfect
can't
guy for
not
this
talk
kind of
about it.
stuff. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
he's been to Irwindale for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that kind of, you know, obviously you've been in drifting for over 20 years now.
Mhm.
What's something that was popular in your first couple years of drifting that you think would be really cool to come back, or like what's the culture thing of drifting that you kind of miss?
I liked sort of the way that it was how D1 ran their events, to where it was like really kind of silly and goofy and fun, you know?
Okay.
If you watch any like the old option videos, they go around
Right.
and they do like grip tests with drivers, and they had a little, you know, race where they were running and stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff was like really fun to me, and it brought the drivers down to like a level where you're like, oh, they're not superheroes, they're not, you know, these polished, you know, individuals. They're just a couple guys, you know, having fun, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I
Well,
liked that aspect of it, where it was just, you know, fun and silly, and you know, you had you know, cameraman Zaku that was getting, you know, almost killed every event, you know, with cars flying past him, and they would point at him and laugh. He got soaked in water at one of the events, you know, like the
yeah.
characters within it was what I enjoyed the most, you know.
Interesting. Because that
And not
kind
to
of,
say FD's lacking characters, but like
well, that
a
was
lot
my
of
next
people take
question
it.
is like, do you
Yeah.
think FD lacks personalities from the drivers, or like, do you think that we could improve it at least? Because in my opinion, one of the biggest things that you have found is that people have resonated with your personality and the character you play, and with the whole Drift Wizard thing and stuff. And I think it hit a chord that has been missing with a
Yeah.
lot of FD, because
Yeah.
a lot of the drivers are very even keel, play it very safe a lot of the time. There's a couple that, you know, like to have fun, and they have their own little niche as well. But it's like,
My boy Jeff Jones.
exactly,
Yeah.
Jeff Jones
Yeah,
comes to
literally.
mind
Yeah,
greatly.
you and Jeff, and I
Yeah.
feel like Field really
Human.
do like a
Yeah.
Human.
Yeah, Human has a great time too. Yeah.
Like as like good personal branding
Yeah.
for like just being yourselves
Mhm.
or playing a character, you know, but
Mhm.
like just the character is also like yourself. Like it's fun for you. So yeah, I mean, I'm not Andy here, but I definitely think that FD lacks a bit of personal character, and like, you know, nobody
Yeah.
really wants to just see the same drifting video over and over again. It's like we want to see you being you too, dude. Like
Yeah.
that, like Turk's mechanical videos, like that shit's sick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I
the
think
stuff,
yeah.
the stuff you do, yeah,
Yeah, I think if more people posted more of like what they do in their regular life and express themselves a little more. I think a lot of people are afraid to express, you know, what they think or what they're about on social media or to their fans or whatever, because of fear of, you know, not being liked, you know. And I'm guilty of that. I did that for years and years. I've always been a really weird dude, to be honest, but I never portrayed that in my social media stuff until I guess I started winning stuff. Like after I won Orlando, I was like, all right, I'm gonna show these people who I really am, you know.
yeah,
Nice.
And it worked, you know. People resonated with it, and I gained a ton of following and a ton of fans from it. And people come up to me with a smile now because they know like I'm just a weird dude making weird videos and also, you know, driving a drift.
Oh,
So
let's just.
I wanted to know, based on that, what's
Mm-hmm.
the story behind the Drift Wizard? How did that come to be?
There was an Instagram thing. Shout out to this guy on Instagram called Elm Realm, and he makes these like silly little animations with this frog wizard dude. And I would just sit on my couch and crack up at all the stuff he made. And I just came to an epiphany, and I was like, I should do the Drift Wizard, you know? And I was writing down a ton of ideas at the time. I came up with like Dr. Drift and Driftenstein and all random weird things to do. And I did a few of them, and Drift Wizard is just the one that like took off and people just loved it. So it just kind of, I made a bunch more videos, and it's sort of become my personality now. Nobody calls me Andy anymore. They just call me the Drift Wizard, you know? And I like that better. You know, it's kind of like being famous for a character rather than being famous on your own, because I get like a little bit of imposter syndrome about that kind of stuff. Like I don't think I'm that important. I don't think I'm that special.
Right.
I'm just a guy following the path that I've followed since I got my D1 license. So
Right.
yeah, I kind of like it a little better. The fact that people like the Drift Wizard, and I can sort of stand to the side of that and watch it unfold.
People
Exactly.
love the cones.
Yeah, yeah.
People
We've
do
Well,
love
that
the
that
a lot
kind
of
of
them
brings
this
me to the
year.
next thing is
Yeah.
like the marketing genius has now helped you literally fund your program.
Yeah, it was our biggest sponsor this year by a long shot. But not let that Evil Auto Works didn't help us out. They were awesome,
Right.
but
Obviously.
once we surpassed them with cone hat sales, I was like, damn, there's like something to this here.
I might got something going on.
But
Yeah.
yeah, shout out to my designer Bink Designs. He did all the. I hit him up to do a bunch of Hateley Motorsports logos and the Drift Wizard design, and I just told him to make it kind of Rick and Morty esque, and he came up with that design, and we sold those for the year. And then he's like, "Yo," calls me one day. He's like, "We should make cone hats." Blah blah blah. He's like, "I got to connect. I'll get you a prototype." And he bought the prototype to Irwindale last year, and I was just dying laughing. It was like
It's
the
so fun.
And
It's
then-
so
It's
perfect.
perfect. You with the stick
Yeah.
too. When you
Yeah.
get the stick.
Yeah. I was at Irwindale with my sister that year, and my nephew and his buddy, and I let her wear the hat around, and just like 30, 40, I don't know, a lot of people came up and like, "Where'd you get that? Like, where can we buy one? This and that." And I was like, "All right, yeah, there's definitely something here." But the
Right.
problem was my minimum order was 1,000 hats. So I ordered 1,000 of them, and they arrived on the Friday of so right after we got knocked out of the seating bracket. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go home and sleep at home tonight because we don't have to be here super early tomorrow.
Yeah.
And on the way home, my roommate calls me and he goes, "Yo, there's like 12 giant boxes in our driveway." And I was like, "Oh shit, the hats! We didn't think they were gonna make it for Long Beach."
Right.
So we pulled them out. Checked them out.
No.
My whole team is there, and we're like, I hope they sell, because we have these 12 huge boxes of wizard hats. And
Right.
I was like, I don't know if they're going to sell or not. Like, we might end the season with 500 hats left or whatever, which would be terrible. But we sold, I think, like 300 at Long Beach or something like that, and I already had to place a new order because I was like, we're going to run out halfway through the season for sure. And they come from overseas on a boat, so it takes a while and all that. So ordered 1,500 more after that, and I think we're down to 2 boxes right now, which is like 120 we have left or something like that. So, that's just under 2,500 for the year, like 2,300 or so we sold. So
for people who like love the hat but they haven't been able to get to an event, can they get your hat online somewhere?
they can't yet. I've been telling myself to build a website like all year long, and I just haven't had a minute. So after SEMA, I'm gonna get on that. I have the driftwizard.com locked down, so I just need to start up the Shopify store. And I'm also not sure how much they're gonna cost to ship, because like I don't want to fold them up or anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not 100%, but a couple people have DM'd me. I actually need to get some out the door. I was supposed to do that today. That's gonna have to be tomorrow. But yeah, there's a few that people hit me up, and like, so I've gotten hit up a bunch of times, but like this one hit me because he's like, his girlfriend messaged me and he's like, yeah, he's a huge fan, this and that. I want to get it for his birthday and all this. And I was like, God damn it. All right. But they're in the UK.
Guilt
I'll
tripped
get
me
an
so
idea
hard.
of what it's going to cost me to send, abroad. But 2 of them showed up at Drift Masters in Poland, though. Amanda Sorensen told me that.
Wow.
Let's go.
That's so great.
Someone out there came out to an FD event, bought 2, and then they brought them back with them, I guess. And my spotter sent me pictures of them at like someone was wearing it at the airport when he was.
I think I saw that.
Like,
I think I saw that
yeah.
somewhere on the internet.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
funny. Yeah, to
That's
see him.
a good feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so good.
Nice.
Chuck finally showed up in the chat. It was about time he showed up.
Yeah, what up? He was crying about Irwindale. So are the rest of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it sucks, but at least they got a lot of good driving there.
Yeah. So also that kind of brings it to you came up with this idea, and you've really shown to where you can be you can literally be anyone in this sport and still make money. I don't know. not that the season was necessarily profitable for you,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
like you're able to make it very feasible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Running
Yeah,
all the
and
rounds and stuff.
I think Pro One helps a lot with that. The fact that we decided to move up, in Prospect, we had some trouble finding, financial sponsors, essentially monetary sponsorship.
Right.
And moving up to Pro, we pull in a decent budget, and then with the sales of the hats and the shirts and the Legos and everything else, we're looking pretty good. I mean, it's our best year we've ever had.
Would you say
Yeah.
you were more financially stable running Pro than you were Prospect last year?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We spent more running Prospect last year than we did running Pro this year. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I was gonna ask about that a little bit because I know the jump from Prospect to Pro typically is a pretty rough one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
I
what
want
was
to
your
know. I
experience
want to
with
know what is your welcome to Pro moment?
Probably flying into the tire barriers with no power steering at Long Beach.
Long Beach, yeah, that was rough. I felt so bad.
Taylor Hole backed it into me and sandwiched me between the barriers, and I'm like, well, I guess this is what it's gonna be. And then also getting hit at every single round. I think we got hit by someone, whereas in Prospect people kind of dial it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just every single round we got hit by someone. I feel like I think Orlando is the only round where we didn't actually get hit by anybody, but every single other round we got hit, at least once. Yeah.
Wow, and a lot of that's
Sometimes,
just practice.
Yep.
People were
Yep.
running, and
them boys out there to win practice, dude. You better be on your shit. You make one little mistake and you're like, well, here it comes, bam. So yeah.
But yeah, so obviously making the jump, I know what you did to the car, which was almost nothing. But what did you do to the car to make it a pro car from Prospect?
I put a bigger supercharger on it, and we thought we were going to make more power, and we actually didn't, because our heads are kind of restrictive. It's not Magnuson's fault or anything. We were making more boost. We went from 10 pounds to around 15 pounds, but the horsepower numbers just didn't increase. And then talking to my engine builder last week, he was talking about the heads that I'm running on the car and how they're a little bit restrictive. So anytime we're in a situation where you're making more boost and you're not making more power, you have a restriction somewhere, either the intake or the exhaust, the headers. I'm pretty sure our restriction is the heads themselves. So we're going to get those ported in the off season and try and make enough power, because we couldn't grip up the car to a point where we were competitive this year, I would say. We tried doing that at Seattle, and it backfired, and it made the car extremely hard to drive. And you really do need, close to 1,000 horsepower to make it work when you're gripping up the car like that. And we were only running 275s this year on the Kumos. We're running 295s next year, but those Kumos are really grippy. They're significant.
They're thick. Their tire size, compared to a lot of other manufacturers, I've noticed at race treads, looking at their stacks, it's their tires are way wider. They're say a 255. Is so
I'd
much
say
bigger than another brand's 255.
Yeah. Their 275 that we were running probably measures out to be more like 280 or 285. Something like that. And the compound is really soft. It's the softest compound that Kevin ever tested. So they're a weapon of a tire. So with the 295s and with more power, I think we'll be, on par with everybody else out there.
Yeah, I mean, between you and Jeff Jones this past year, I don't remember who else was on Kumos, but
Dean Carnes, but he didn't show up to any rounds. So
Yep. Was Novak on him?
No, he's on Kenda.
Kenda.
Oh, Kenda, that's correct.
So it's literally just the two drivers.
Yeah.
So,
and, I mean, you guys proved that they were not garbage. So
no, they work, man. They work for sure.
Aside from the grip change with the tire and then those heads, any other big plans for the car, or are you keeping something under wraps?
No, not really. We just need to make more power so we can dial the grip in, and then what else was I going to do? Oh, probably run a longer shock in the back so we can try some anti-squat setups. We're kind of at the limit of our ride height back there, and to get anti-squat out of that car, you got to run at least another inch or two higher. So we might try that. I'm not sure if we'll try that at Long Beach. We'll probably try that in Atlanta. Long Beach, I kind of want to keep it loose so it's easy to drive and comfortable.
Right.
But off season, we'll probably try running, anti-squat stuff and see how it feels, see what it does. Other than that, same old same. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Nissan asked in the chat if you still have the E30 around.
Oh yeah, it's right on the other side of the wall, sitting above my 350Z. I got all of them still. Yeah.
So if you guys didn't catch that from the beginning, that stock Z he was talking about drifting, earning his license, one of his first drift cars. You still have that chassis, and I love that.
Yep, it's still out there. I went single turbo on it, and it makes like 350 or so, and I drove that in FD for 2006 and 2007 seasons. It's still alive. I'm actually trying to sell it right now if anyone wants to buy it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It needs a gas tank. I took it up to Winter Jam, and it was like sputtering and doing funny stuff. And I figured the fuel pump was going bad, so I went to pull the fuel pump out, and the gas tank was like full of rust. So
right,
that happens with those Nissans.
Yeah. So it just needs a gas tank, and it should run pretty strong. It's got a Haltech. It's got a single turbo. It's good to go.
Heck yeah. So I guess, is there a moment that you have been driving where you were like kind of starstruck to where like you were like, I'm driving with this guy kind of thing? Like, is there like some idol that you've been able to drive with now in the last 20 years?
In FD, not really, because I've watched these guys come up. I mean, my first drift event, Forsberg was there, Tony Angelo, Taka, Hero, they were all there. So I kind of met them, at the beginning of it. And I'm not really one to get starstruck. I've met a lot of, famous people over the years, and it's
being in LA, obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I used to be an actor too, so I did.
I didn't know that.
With Tony Hawk, I've did a commercial with James Brown. Did one with Adam Carolla. Did a bit part of the movie Harry. Like it doesn't really affect me in the way it affects other people, I don't think.
What about a situation? So like for me, this might make me sound like a nerd, but that was my first Irwindale, and seeing just the fans in the stands with all their lights on in the finals, I was like, whoa, this is kind of neat. So was there a moment for you where you realized like, whoa, I'm actually a pro competing at the highest level in this country in a motorsport?
I probably have to go back to D1, because that day when I got my license or whatever, the next day was competition. That was the driver's search. So I got my license, and then the next day I was driving with like Nomuken and Team Orange and stuff like that. And they're lining next to them in line. And that's like all the people that I watched in the option video DVDs back then. So that was
all your idols.
I was like, I need to take this more seriously, and I need more than a stock 350Z to do so with it. I'd say that was probably the moment. And then, I mean, every time I line up against James, I'm like, I'm not starstruck, but I'm like, holy shit, like here we go, like or Odie, or Osbo too. Like Osbo, I always try and chase hard because I know he's like absolutely perfect all the time. It's like following an AI drift car. It's just
Plus, they have a ton of power too, which you're going to be fixing in the offseason.
Yeah, ton of power, ton of tire. So as long as they don't get you off the line, you can kind of stay with them.
Probably another benefit of being in pro, knowing that you can put your full trust into 98% of these dudes out there. Versus prospect, you have to dial yourself almost back, because it's like, I don't know what's about to happen in front of me. Unless whatever.
It was like Dimitri or Ben or a couple other drivers,
Connor Osoli. I don't even know. You got to drive with him.
Yeah. So unless you're driving up with somebody that you've seen and trust, I get on the radio with my spotter, and he'd be like, "Should I follow?" And he'd be like, "Definitely not." I'm like,
And it's like over half of the crowd. It's way over half of the crowd. And it's like time for comp, and it's like, well, I've had one decent maybe chase run, and it's like, well,
and I don't think that's by fault of the drivers. I don't think they're bad drivers. I think it's very difficult stepping into pro spec coming from like a local pro-am. I'm lucky to have experience with all these tracks for so many years, but when you come out to a track, there's going to be those first couple laps that you're not really getting down, and if the car breaks and you have to go straight into qualifying, which happened a lot with my E30 actually, unless I had that experience. And let's say you don't have a sim or something like that, so you're really have no idea what the track is like and where to brake and where to accelerate and, all those things.
And
so I was
mechanical sympathy is the biggest thing. I think that
Yeah.
separates like like I've noticed even like, like the people that have gone from pro spec recently to pro, like not all of you guys, like obviously yourself, like you don't, like you do have mechanical sympathy as from like an outsider, like, but like you look at Ben, you look at Connor Osoli this past year, and like, they make the car do what its job is supposed to without any regard of like, all right, well, I'm on limiter, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. These guys they just do it. And then like it's like, well, if it blows up, it blows up. Where I think that a lot of other like pro spec, even if I was in that position myself, I'd be like, I want to win, but I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be on the limiter all the time. I'm not trying to do this or run into anybody. Like I got a budget, So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like
think
once
that
you make the jump to Pro 1, you kind of have to throw that all out the window. You just got to be like,
yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I mean,
but
I'm
like,
the one
that's engraved in a brain in a way. Like, you don't want to go out there and it's like, yeah, wreckers or checkers, brother. But like, yeah, it's easier said than done. Like when you're put in that position, it's like, I really don't want to hit that guy, man.
Yeah, I think that really depends on like if you built the car yourself and if you put in all the work, because that's where I was with the E30. I never pushed it too far because one, our rear suspension was pretty fragile and really hard to replace with the trailing arm setup. But if I wreck that thing and we need a new chassis, like that falls on me. That's hundreds of hours of work that I have to go and do if I fail.
Right.
So I think if you don't do all that work and you're paying someone else to do it, or you have the money to pay someone to do it, either way, it's a lot easier for you to just abuse the car and drive to your absolute limit, where you might, destroy stuff and spend hours of work doing it. And I'm fortunate to have a great team, shout out to Curtis and Jake and Westies and Cody for always being there and allowing me to step back and let them fix the car, at least while I'm at the events,
Right.
And that allows me to concentrate more on my driving, actually like drink food or drink water and eat, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So like it's a big help when you have one people on your team and then two people that are really good at what they do, So the two of them can fix the car faster than I could myself. So I'm real thankful for that situation,
That's you make a good point. Like, you're the one that's got to fix it now that you broke it.
Yeah, and I built it too. I spent 700 hours building that car. It's part of that. Is makes it your baby in a sense. You've become attached to it. But there's an old saying that I like to try and remind myself is don't race anything that you wouldn't be okay with pushing off a cliff. So the way you got to look at it, like don't go out there with
a good way to look at it.
that you wouldn't be okay with just whoop, right off a cliff, because it could not even be your fault. I mean, look what happened to James's car last year at Irwindale. When Matt hit him, it sent him flying. And RTR is an amazing team; they got it back together. But I mean, if that happened to me, like, we're out, and we probably need a chassis, and like that's a lot of money and a lot of time. So. It's a gamble every time you hit the track, and you got to be okay with that.
True. And well, you just talk about the cost of even just doing drifting now and how expensive it is. That kind of I believe Herbie, obviously is the sim guy here, but like you do a lot of that too now. Obviously, I assume.
What sim stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we pulled up to the line together a couple times, brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, technically I started on the sim. I mean, I don't know what people consider a sim, but every driving game is somewhat a sim, from Cruising USA all the way up to what we have now, and I started on Gran Turismo 3 with a controller, and I really attributed that to back then, there was no real good wheel setups or anything like that. But when I first hopped into Z and I learned how to drive, it's all the same timing. It's all the same, eye movements and looking around and finding the apex and stuff like that. And you're doing all the same stuff. You're just doing it with your thumbs rather than with your hands and your feet. So as long as you're good with transferring those inputs to a different format, you're essentially doing the same thing. So like I like to tell people, like if you can't afford a sim, like get on a controller, go and drive, learn how to drift.
Great point.
That's where I started.
As
Yeah,
long-
I started
as
same
long as
same
that-
exact game. Yep.
Yeah,
Same everything.
as long as that throttle and that brake are, if you're using them at the right time and doing the right things, just transfer that to your hands and your feet, and you're golden. And then of course Sims got better and better, and now it's just a whole different world that we have the FD tracks that have all the clipping points in the right spots and the chicane and everything's the same. So that really allows you to get your timing down, get your eye line down at where you're looking and when you're looking there, and get the experience to where like, yeah, we pull up and me and my spotter Westies, we drive all the time on the sim and we're ready. That first lap doesn't feel like the first lap. It feels like I've been doing this the past 3 weeks because I have,
Right.
It's just the graphics are a little better, I'd like to say.
Right, yeah.
The repercussions a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You can't hit the
No,
quick button.
no reset to pits. You know what the trick
Yeah.
is for that thing though is I have mine on you can buy a little USB foot switch. So my reset to pits is now on a foot switch. So like I can hit it like long before like I just pull my foot off the clutch and I'm like click and
I'm
right back to
still
pits.
on a Logitech and my brain is so quick on the B button.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I have had that thing memorized so quick.
Yep. I mean, the first time I drove like on a wheel was the Xbox wheel that they sold for Xbox 360, and yeah, that was like I was using the e-brake on the button and stuff like that.
That's my first wheel. I bought a Fanatec CSL Elite. That was my first wheel, and then
that's nice.
I demoted myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, same exact thing. I never had a handbrake, so I set that shit up to like the B button.
Yep, and then you lower the rotation.
You'd have to like catch it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I still ran 900.
Oh, really? That's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a sicko.
Yeah. I keep it at 540, so at least I could keep my thumb like on the button while I was doing be ready.
Heavily relied on the left foot brake action, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So if you ever see me online, I still have that tendency with a high horsepower mobile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely seen you on there and you rip on there, and I was curious, like how much time would you say between rounds do you practice for the next track?
Not enough, to be honest. When I won the round in Florida, 2022, I spent a lot of time, and it definitely like showed. I split up the track into different sections to where I was just getting my timing on the initiation and doing the bank down. And as long as I could make it to that inside clip and do a good wall ride, I was satisfied with that lap. And I just go right back to the start line and restart. And then I would do it from inner clip, that first inner clip through the transition, through the next to the track. And I wouldn't really worry about what I was doing on the bank. I would just sometimes I'd initiate it halfway through the bank. I would just loop through and keep doing that one little section and then combine them. And then I had a rule where I would have to do 10 what I would consider perfect laps, where you're not making any mistakes. You're on the wall, you're on the clips, you're on the final outside zone. And if I could do 10 of those in a row, no problem, without practice, like hop on the sim, do those 10 laps right now type thing. Then I felt like I was ready, and I still kind of hold myself to that, but I need to get on more, to be honest. I think it showed this year that I wasn't using it enough. I just out of being busy and then prepping the car and stuff like that. And sometimes like Irwindale, for example, like I was working on the car like pretty much until the last minute, so I had I think 3 nights, me and Westies hopped on and got tandems done. And then also having someone who's decently good at it to follow that can throw down a really good lap, but also mess with you a little bit. Like he'll just randomly do like an e-brake initiation when he's been feinting the whole time and like try and throw me off or throw a huge angle past one section to just kind of like put me in every situation that, so you're ready for the unexpected, essentially.
Right. That's cool. And just so everyone in the chat knows, if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to ask as many as we can
Ask
in
away.
the time we got them. But Omni Coverage asks if you've
Oh,
ever had
Omni
any...
coverage. That's my buddy Mike from Northern Ireland.
Oh, so he
Yeah.
asked if you had any troubles with video teams or crews in the past. But I would actually like to modify the question to be like, how do you pick your crews or your teams or people that you work with? What's like your criteria, you know? Because you've been doing this 20 years now. I mean, you probably
yeah,
you didn't have a
typically
crew when you were starting. But...
yeah, and I didn't have I was my own mechanic up until 2014 when I met Curtis, and he was sort of the first addition to the team that actually like wrenched on the car and stuff. And I was like not against it, but I was, reluctant to let people wrench in the car because I built it myself and I didn't want anybody to mess it up and stuff like that. And I knew the car better than anyone else. And then Curtis flew out with a couple of his friends to go to All-Star Bash one year, and we needed to change the clutch, and the transmission wouldn't come out of the car without dropping the whole sun frame and like removing the engine. Like it was a nightmare the way I built the E30. It just didn't work out. And he's like, nope, we're getting it out. And he grabbed the cutoff wheel and he cut the transmission hole, bigger and pounded the crap out of the transmission tunnel and like got the transmission out and we did it like overnight. And I was like, all right, that's impressive. I don't like what you're doing, but it's very impressive, And after that, the next year I called him up and I was like, yo, do you want to come on the team type thing? And he did. And it's been a great relationship ever since then, and I trust him wholeheartedly with everything that we do. And sometimes we disagree on stuff and we realize that like, it really doesn't matter which way we do it. It matters who's doing it. So whoever is putting in the work generally gets their way, and it doesn't make a difference in the end. The dude knows his stuff. He's an incredible mechanic. And then Jake Bossard, who's on the team now too, is kind of Curtis's right-hand man now. He came out to help out at around with the E30. I met him in Nashville, and I lent him some parts to like fix his E36, and we kind of became friends. We went to dinner after that, and then he offered to come down. I don't know, I forget if he offered or I asked, one of the two. He came and helped out at Atlanta one year. And I think, I'm trying to remember what happened. I think that's the year that LZ hit me because my wheel broke. I had a front wheel that broke, and I went to transition, and the car just plowed understeer, and LZ came into the back of us. And he noticed like this hairline crack on one of the control arms that me and Curtis both missed. And I was like, all right, you got impressive eyes there, And we didn't really have the money to add another team member at the time. But a couple of years later, Curtis was like, yo, like I need help out there. Like I need really good help. We had another crew member, Omid, that was sort of Curtis's right-hand man before that. And then he had to leave because he was taking over his dad's business. And Curtis was complaining a lot about how hard it was to do everything by himself. So he pulled Jake on there, and Jake's just a great dude. He loves drifting. Supreme golden retriever energy. He's an awesome dude. Super nice. And just genuinely is in love with drifting. He does Drift Week with another guy named Jake Gonzalez, and comes out to the hot pit events and changes tires. He's got a tire machine that he brings out. He's very passionate about drifting at all the levels. So great addition to the team, and those two guys I feel like are capable of anything that happens out there. And a lot of stuff happened this year. We placed a ton of control arms. We had the supercharger pulley fell off at Irwindale. I wrecked the car a few times, and they always get it back together. So it's been a lot easier on me to have those two guys around, and it allows me to interact with fans and, like I said, have time to drink water and have time to eat, those kind of things that fall short at these events sometimes when you're stuck underneath the car.
It's true. Yeah. Another question coming in from Brandon. He's like, are we getting Drift Wizard hats 2 versions 2 for next year? Or
hopefully, we're working on it. We might put the actual Wizard logo on there, like the actual little guy. I'm trying to get help from a sponsor. Like if we get like a big title sponsor, I'll add them to the hat. There's been suggestions of making light up hats. There's all sorts of ideas going around. Yeah,
that's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. Phil, I asked on any advice on progression through the ranks of competition. And
Um,
you and
yeah.
Herbie can kind of give you some context on Phil's, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
or the situation that he's in right now, right? Are you there, bud? Herbie.
I can lean in.
Oh,
So I
okay. There you go,
announced
Sarah.
some of the uh, series that go down to English Town and a few other places, and
Yeah,
Phil
yeah.
is a regular there. Ran the Gambler a few times. He ran the car track comp this past weekend, and he's progressing like really well, at least in the
Mm-hmm.
series that I'm watching him drive in. So I think he's probably looking for some advice to see, like, what you would say to someone who's up and coming.
Test.
Yeah, I would say just compete as much as you can. The more times you line up for a battle, the easier it gets, the less your nerves get to you, and the more comfortable you are with just driving. Oh,
Uh-oh.
Herbie's fucking around over
with
here.
just
Can you
driving
hear me?
in competition. Yeah, we can hear you now. Um,
All right.
yeah,
I'm
so
coming through the iPhone. I'm
yeah.
sorry. My AirPods died, and I guess the left one doesn't have a microphone,
Oh,
so
Nice.
my
you're
fault.
good. You're good.
Yeah, but yeah,
You're
Phil,
messing
great
him
ripper.
up. Phil asked him a question and you messed him up, man.
Yeah,
Well,
but
sorry, real quick. Phil is a great ripper. He drives in the rain in first gear because he's got a stock gearbox and a C6, and that thing probably revs out in first gear to probably like 60 miles an hour. But other than that, dude, he just competed at the Casino Royale. Great dude. I don't know what he's got actually like for angle, suspension, everything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Um, yeah, he absolutely honestly killed it. He is a great like grassroots driver. So I'm sorry I didn't actually really catch what was actually just being said because of the fact that I
Herbie.
wanted to throw these things through the window. But
mhm.
here we are.
Yep. No, you're
Uh,
good. But yeah, the more times you line up, the easier it gets. And I would highly suggest, spending as much time on the simulator, driving the same tracks that you drive. And also, like, if you're planning to move up to pro spec or anything like that, like, start driving all the FD tracks on the sim because it's the only way you're going to get track time at these tracks. And if you have the money, obviously, like showing up to pro-ams that are running these tracks, if you can get out to Evergreen Drift or you can get out to Drift Buffet in Salt Lake City,
Yep.
um, that it would just make it go down to OSW, get some laps in, get yourself as prepared as you can if you're planning on moving up in the ranks. And then also like learn the business side of it. It's not really concentrated or talked about at the grassroots level, but if you do plan on coming up, like go to SEMA, talk to sponsors, make those relationships now so that, when you do move up, you just give your buddy a call over at XYZ company and
Yep.
see if they want to help you out. Try and get a head start on the future of where you want to go with it, basically. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. And then he also asks, how do you practice competition drifting outside of the sim, or like you personally? Or just like,
Really, that's it. Because we
mm,
don't get to go to these tracks. We get to go once a year, and we get 12 laps, and we're thrown into the gauntlet of competition. So you're really the only way you can practice, in my opinion, is the sim.
Fair enough.
And I mean, I talk with my spotter a lot. Westies, we talk a lot about car setup and different tracks and stuff like that. So and that's another thing I'd probably advise him on if he's getting into it is find a spotter that you can deal with telling you when you suck. Like it's
yeah,
like it's you got to have like it's got to be one of your really good friends, and also I would suggest them being a great driver themselves. Westies is an awesome driver.
right.
Doesn't have enough time or money to get out there on track very often, but on the
Mm,
sim, that dude is insane. He rips,
right.
and ever since the Forza days, when me and him were driving Forza together, he was the benchmark that I was like I got. It was just so hard to get on his door, and
Mm-hmm.
somehow he's like pulling away from me like at full lock, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like how are you carrying speed but yet you're at like full lock angle? And then he got me more into car setup changes and stuff like that. So finding people that are knowledgeable on that you trust and that are good friends and can can basically tell you suck and you're not going to get mad, type thing,
Exactly.
Yeah. Spotters
That-
are don't get enough love sometimes, I think.
no,
Because I started out as a spotter, and then obviously I do a lot of announcing now. And
Mhm.
I would have guys come up to the booth and be upset about their score, and they're like, I just put down this heater, and I'm like, yeah, sure, the run was good, but you weren't in any of the zones. I was
Mhm.
like, what did your spotter tell you? And
Yeah.
they're like, I don't have one. And I'm like,
Mhm.
get a
Yeah.
buddy with a
Yeah.
phone,
Yep.
tape your laps. Like this is an
Yep.
integral part of it. So
I
shout
mean,
out to your
he can
spotter.
just text you after the run. I mean, after
Yeah.
each run, Westy sends me video of it, and tells me what's up. Usually, if I make a major mistake, I get on the radio first, and I'm like, well, that I fucked up here, I messed up there, like all these things. So, normally he doesn't have to tell me a whole lot because I recognize my mistakes most of the time. But
Yeah.
also just for like reinforcement and like also just good advice at Irwindale. Like when in top 32, I was like, this is the final Irwindale. I got on the radio. I was like, I'm gonna fucking send it. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna hard into that wall. Like I'm going big. And he's like, no, you looked good. Just like don't go that far, but just dial it back a little bit. And I still hit the wall. So I was like, it's a good thing I like dialed it back a little bit because I would have creamed the car and probably took the front end around and stuff. And
Yeah.
one of those close to being perfect hits where I hit it and it kind of bounced me down a little bit, but I still stayed in the zone. But
Yeah.
it's just having that good advice and also like their note taking skills, how much they're taking notes on the other drivers. Like every time I pull to the line, I ask him about each driver, and he goes through. They're initiating like this. They're kind of fast here. They made this mistake there on their last run. Those knowing all those types of things allows you to sort of play the chess game right.
Yeah, listen to your spotters, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to put them off to the side.
Oh gosh.
You let the driver do his job.
If I would have done that at Irwindale, I may not have a car right now.
Yeah,
Jay also asked in the chat, I think we already went over this a little bit about how significant your Drift Wizard merch was, and I remember he previously said that it was his #1 sponsor now, so I can say it's probably pretty significant, right?
Yeah.
Well,
you sell them.
It's still the
$5
craziest
per hat,
point.
right?
$20.
$20.
$20.
I put one on my head. It is not like a little costume. Like, I have a cone costume.
It's not a chintzy thing.
They're comfortable. Yeah.
It's the real McCoy.
Got a liner in there and everything. I mean, they're nice.
Yeah.
It is a hat shaped like a cone. It's not just like a piece of foam.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
I mean, anywhere that you are out on a track. I mean, some tracks have like for the spectators, they got like the overhang in the stadium and everything. But like for the most part, if you ain't got nothing to protect your head, and that's got the overhangs to protect like your neck, keep
it's a decent
cool.
hat. No, yeah. Oh, we should add water sprayers to the next ones.
Ooh.
Little misters.
Not even, dude. If you were to put in like the little solar panel like fans and just like blow it down.
You could. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, anybody could just do that.
I mean, you could mount like a good 6-inch fan inside.
Like, all right, guys, we're looking at a $100 Drift Wizard hat with all these bells.
Dude, you got a ton of room for activities up there.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, people hide T-shirts up there and all sorts when they
I'll be
walk around and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Beer holder to the next one is what we got from Greg. So
Phil asked.
Phil
asked Andy how much East Coast drivers are, or how much better are East Coast drivers versus West Coast drivers.
I like this. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. I mean, from watching like Club Loose and stuff like that, I'd say there's a higher population of good drivers out there. I don't think they're better. I'd like to see an East versus a West, because when I go out to like Hot Pit or something like that, there's some rippers in that series, and and
it's just a series that I don't hear a lot about. Much.
Yeah.
I don't hear about the West Coast side of drifting that much. I'll be honest. Personally, over here, and I'm in the Midwest.
We're lacking like the bash style events right now. I mean, Winter Jam's kind of like the only thing that we got, but there's a lot of good drivers out at Winter Jam for sure.
Like,
but when you
that's
see
Sonoma,
like
right?
Yeah, yeah. When you
Okay.
go to like Club Loose stuff at E Town, it's like train after train after train of like 6 dudes, and they're ripping, dude, and they're
I
close, and they're yeah.
I think what really does it is genuinely that E Town has every bit of a track that you need to learn. And
Yeah.
I think that's the difference is that that has elevation changes. It's
Mm-hmm.
got the bank. You know, everything may be scaled down a
Mm-hmm.
little bit compared to what you may see in a professional setting, but it does have every little bit of a track that someone may encounter in any other category. That's why you've seen like, you know, Mike
Mm-hmm.
Power, Alex Jager, like Vaughn, Ryan Turk,
Mm-hmm.
Forsberg, like everybody come out of there. Obviously, it was one of the first tracks to be open to this type of thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Like
think
the Drifters Nuremberg.
that, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's almost like it really does have everything. I always felt the same way with I probably pronounce it wrong, but Tsukuba Circuit, like in the
Cuba.
same. There you go.
Yeah.
I suck at it. My fault.
Yeah.
But
Cuba.
that one I also feel has a lot of everything to teach the Japanese drivers how every other track is gonna almost feel. You're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
a tight zone, you're gonna have to link a long zone, and then you have the long sweeper, and it's the same
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And I think that that's why where Phil comes from, that the East Coast drivers are better. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we are more like we have more of like a like we've seen it already in a
Mm-hmm.
way where like you guys have horse thief where I think
Mm-hmm.
that if you were able to get more seat time at that track or Sonoma's the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, also
that
like the standards that are set are usually set by whoever is doing the sport. Essentially, it's the same way with like skateboarding. When I was heavy into skateboarding, like the level at where it is now is
Yep.
insane. And
Yep.
if you don't see that, you're not going to know that it's possible. You
It's
know?
Right.
like James Dean coming into FD, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, and I say to everybody all the time that's like naysayers, like, you know, like,
Mhm.
oh, like he, he's like, yeah, he's gonna win. Like it kind of like it's boring. It's like a Max
Mhm.
Verstappen, but like without a guy like that, we wouldn't be at the level of what the driving is now. You
Yep.
know,
You got to have the bar setters.
you have like when I
Mhm.
used to race dirt bikes, I never wanted to go like I didn't ride with my class. I rode with the 250s or 450s. Like I was, you
Mhm.
know, you're only as good as your competition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
An argument for driving with guys who are better than you in order to get better.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. That's the only way to do it because yeah, you're not going to be able to step up your game unless you're forced to. You know,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, people find a comfortable spot and they just sort of chill there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's nice to get your doors blown off every once in a while and realize that you ain't that hot shit. You know.
Like, have you genuinely noticed that your laps when James Dean is on your tail
Mhm.
are like 9.5 out of 10 for your
Yeah.
lead run?
Yeah.
It like it, do you think like and I've noticed this with like almost anybody.
Mhm.
Like, do you feel like that actually like plays a part? Obviously, in your mental, like you know that you have Jameson Machine Dean like behind you,
Mhm.
like your runs genuinely shine when that guy is right on your butt.
I think that's more like an ego thing where he pulls up next to you and you're like, I'm gonna show this dude what's up. You know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See, there's the competitor again.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like same thing with
I
any of the
like.
like
Yep.
really good drivers you pull up to, like, you know, you're like, I'll get his door, you know? Like
I no slouch.
yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
yeah, that makes it just makes you a better driver, you know, essentially.
Yeah. I say that to my Bystrack
Yeah.
and like when him and Alex get a run together. I always
Mhm.
say, I'm like, damn, I'm like Bystrack, you need like a cutout of Alex in your passenger window.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
well, you'll do great every time.
Yep,
But yeah,
yep.
it is. It is. It's literally an ego thing, and
Mhm.
yeah, I was just a little curious about that.
Mhm.
So, do you think you drive harder against a driver you'd consider to be like one of your buddies or against someone who might be more of like a rival?
It depends. Like if it's late in the day and I've gotten some good laps in, I will probably drive harder with my buddy because it's another like little mono mono battle that we have going on, you know.
Right.
But like early on in the day, like I drove with Jeff in Salt Lake City, and I was hanging back. It was like my first chase lap of the day. And he's like, "What are you doing there? Like, why weren't you getting my door?" I was like, it was first lap. I didn't want to like ruin both of our days right here. We're the only two Kumo drivers, you know. We
Yeah.
both wreck out. Like that just looks terrible, and we won't get contract here.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Another thing or another question Phil asks: is there any physical exercises you do or anything like that, or just like ways to kind of get you?
Not really. I'm not big on the gym, and I'm also like not big on like sort of like the reaction test stuff you see like Formula One drivers doing and stuff like that, where they're like hitting the lights that are turning green or whatever type thing. Like, if you can do all of that on the sim when you're exercising the same muscle memory and the same movements that you should be doing, yeah, and everything, like I don't understand why they just don't spend more time on a simulator. You're doing all the same things. You're testing your reactions. You're building up all those muscle memory actions, and you're not playing some silly game where you're catching sticks that are dropping or whatever. Like all that. Like it's cool. It looks cool. It's great content, But like, I just don't see the point in it when I could just spend more time on the sim and exercise the reactions that I should be exercising.
Great point.
Yep.
And then I like put a bunch of plastic bins above my shower and I convert it into like a steam shower. So I try and like take the heat really, really gnarly because like when you're in the car, it's obviously boiling hot sometimes. Like New Jersey this year, it was like 130 degrees plus in the car. So like getting used to that, like if you can just like figure out a way, go to a sauna and get in a steam room, get in a sauna or whatever, do something that's gonna like force you to like take that heat and still be like functional with it and not like not panic and not like be like I gotta get out of this thing type situation.
Yeah.
So
I mean I know the first sauna I was ever in, I had a full-blown panic attack. I was like, my asthma. And then I was like, wait, if this was dangerous, they wouldn't let my ass in here. So then I calmed down. I'm like, oh wow, this is actually really nice.
And you can leave at any time, but I mean if you pull up to the line, and you got 2 laps to do, and like you got to stay in the car. It doesn't matter.
You got to stay there.
What attack you're feeling or what heat stroke you're getting close to, like that.
Yep.
That don't matter. You got to go drive.
Do you run a cool shirt in your car?
I do, yeah, but I need to get a bigger bottle for it. I converted like a Yeti bottle to do it, like one of the big Yeti, and like it for those 2 laps. But like by the end of that like second lap, if the line's long and stuff like that, I'm already getting to the point of suffering. And that's only the shirt. So I mean, your legs are still sweating, your head is still really hot, all those things. I mean, they make pants and they make a hood that you can wear and stuff like that runs it through there, but it's not the same. I think like one of like the cold air systems, because they have ones that are like dual, where it runs a fan through the cooler as well, and then that runs right to your helmet. I think the RTR guys run that, and a couple other teams run that. I think that could help a lot. That's just something that we've never really had in the budget. So
that's money,
yeah.
Nice to have, not a necessity.
If you could like tackle the challenges, then that wouldn't, it's not a problem. So I like your approach more so than obviously like having money and like being able to have the nice things and all that. It would be cool, but also like like I said, just like getting over that hump is a huge step in itself. So
Yep.
So
can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
That's right, baby.
Jason's over here with a hot take, and he's like, he thinks one of the worst things about the seating bracket is that most of the drivers who struggled to just battle each other for the whole year, and they don't go against the top guys. It's hard to improve with bad company. I still don't agree with it, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the whole idea of the seating bracket this year and how it was.
In general,
I like it for a couple reasons, and I don't like it for a couple reasons. So the fact that like they don't get to like what to his point that you don't get to battle any of the big guys or whatever, but like if you can't qualify into the 32 or you're struggling to qualify in the 32, you don't even get a battle.
Right.
So at least you get that battle experience, and at least you have content, you know, and to give your sponsors and stuff like that. Like when
Right.
you email a sponsor at the end of the rounds, I do all my press releases and stuff. If you're just sending them the qualifying run and crying about why you didn't qualify and making excuses or whatever, then it just looks really bad. But if you can send them like, oh, this was our battle, this is why we lost, you know, at least you're doing what drifting is essentially about, which is
Right.
the battles, you know.
Exactly.
And then you have 2 posts that you can make instead of 1. You can say, oh, this is my chase lap, this is my lead lap. It's not just like, oh, this is my qualifying lap that wasn't good enough, you know.
Right.
True.
So I like it in those 2 senses. I don't like it in the sense that like that they're having trouble like filling out the seating bracket, and then there's still buy runs in 32. That part I disagree with, but I like it better. I do miss qualifying. Like I also loved qualifying. Like some of like my most notable laps I ever did were qualifying laps, especially when the car broke and I was extremely pissed off and I just had no practice and I just go out there and throw down.
And
Like,
it's a good angry,
yeah,
self-fulfilling
and it
lap.
feels great, like to be like,
Yeah.
I got 2 laps and I qualified 5th or whatever. That happens several times in the E30. You know, we qualify pretty high and we get like literally 0 practice. You know,
Right.
Yep.
so like that feels great, but and it's also like a good measuring point. It's a good place for like drivers to show off. You know, you don't see anybody throwing backies unless it's a qualifying lap or anything like that. You know, and I really like the 2-lap qualifying because if you got a decent lap on the first one, the second one you could get stupid with, you know, and have some fun and make something that's, you know, possibly more interesting to watch than the entire show, you know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'll never
doing
forget
it backly.
Vaughn's run from last year
Yeah.
from, at
Yep.
Atlanta. And
Yeah.
he just like full to the floor,
Yep.
like from second, third, fourth, and then just mats it the entire way.
Yep.
And like every time I watch that video, it has me like in happy tears, you know, like so.
Or Chelsea throwing a backy at the high speed St. Louis track, you know, and,
What-
like
yeah,
making it out of it.
It's just-
You're like, dude, that was nuts. Like, and
that's gangster as hell.
yeah, you get that with seating bracket, but you know, I'm saying I'm at like probably like a 60-40 like it hate it type thing, you know.
Fair enough.
I think
Yeah,
that's very fair.
I went into the year with that 50-50 approach, and I also actually probably went in with probably actually more than like for it. I want to say 75-25. I take that back. 75% I like it, 25% I hate it. But at the beginning of the year, when I saw the whole format, I was like, this is great because we get a battle every single round, you know. And before with qualifying, like going into pro, I was worried about like qualifying. You know, like what if we mess up? Like we only have 2 laps to do it, something goes wrong, or the car's not performing optimal.
Falls off.
You know, like certain things happen, and then you know you're out for the weekend. And I mean that can happen in seating too, but at least you get that one battle. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also, from my perspective, it's a time thing as well. Like qualifying just takes so damn long.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And I think everyone's there to see battles, in my opinion, and that's what people want to come out and see. But my idea for improving the first battle stuff is to do like a wild card system, kind of like how what Drift Masters does, and that way you're always getting new people in that first competition. And also I think it opens the doors to a lot of really good drivers that can't make all 8 rounds. And that way you can keep it fresh. You're not getting a bunch of buy runs, but that would be maybe like a way that I think would improve it a lot, and I think would make it fun for people. But you know, like you're not battling the same guy over and over again, you know.
Yeah, that happened in like top 32 a lot. I think like Jeff battled Simon like 4 times this year or something like that. You know, like that part needs some improvement for sure. And I think like possibly trying to eliminate the buy runs in the seating bracket would be nice. And then in turn, I think like if let's say, you know, like where we have a situation where there's a buy run in top 32 because there's only, you know, there's not enough spots to fill or whatever type thing, then I think the ninth position in those seating brackets should be awarded that top
Right.
32 spot to fill the bracket. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the whole job of the seating bracket should be to have a full competition top 32 bracket. That should be like its main focus.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Agreed.
And I just think, yeah, Byron's already won too many rounds. You know, he's a hell of a driver. Old
Byron goes hard.
He does. He does. Like, you know, we can't give him that much credit. You know, he's won enough. So, time for him to go.
Malik asks if there's any tracks in Europe that you would like to drive or would
Oh,
someday.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean,
What's your number one?
Nürburgring for sure.
Really?
Even though it's like not like a drift track, I just want to drive it.
Like the GP course is a pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
there's some good.
They have like a
there and stuff
drifty
like
area,
that, but I just want to drive the
overall. I'm
North Side
with you on that.
all day. But as far as like drift tracks go, the what's the one, Ferropolis?
Ferropolis or whatever.
Yeah, the one with the crane and that's on the dock. Like that one, definitely want to drive. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, Mondello. Yeah, I'd say all of them. That would be my best answer. Probably like Ferropolis is at the top. That's the one I've done like most of the laps on the sim on and stuff like that. But I mean, like I just have like a need to drive the Nürburgring at some point in my life, just because like I mean I hop on the sim. I do a lot of racing too, and I'm always on there in the Corvette C7R and the Nürburgring, you know, online thing. And like I was on there yesterday, just like having a blast. Like I know that track like so well, and I really enjoy long tracks because I came from like driving canyon roads and stuff like that. So like I enjoy knowing every single corner and every single thing to do. I think that's like a challenge in its own to like be able to master.
It's more of a
master something that's like 14 miles long, and then also your mistakes don't feel as bad because you have so much time to make it up. Like there's times where like the first, you know, half of the lap on the Nürburgring's not that great, but if I hammer through that second half and do the best I've ever done, I can still beat my previous time type thing.
Yeah.
So
aside from you're obviously running pro for the 2025 season, do you have any fun events or something you're looking forward to that you're going to pepper in there, or something you'd like to get to?
I need to fix my E30 for fun events like really bad. Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully we get like a better budget for next year and I can put some money aside to do that. But right now it's just not. I need a new quick change. I need a transmission for it. I have a stock LS3, the original crate motor that I bought for the car, sitting here in the shop. So I'll try and get that back in there. Get, you know, a transmission hopefully from G-Force because that's what I want to put in the car, and then put a quick change in it. The whole rear end of that car is all set up for quick change. So like, because most like S chassis or E46 or E36, the quick change is essentially mounted to the subframe itself, whereas this one, I don't know if you've ever seen it the underneath of an E30, but the rear diff mount that mounts to the cover is on the chassis itself. So there's nothing to mount it to. The front end of the chassis is just a beam that goes across that the trailing arm's attached to. So the front of the quick change bolts to that, and then the back of it is all mounted to the roll cage essentially.
Wow.
So like the 4 bolts at the back of the differential that goes straight up to my strut bar and has reinforcements that go across, and all that stuff bolts directly to the chassis. So like if I wanted to go back to a regular diff, which I don't want to, mainly because they break a lot, but if I wanted to go the cheaper route and go back to that, I'd be cutting out, you know, 30, 40, 50 hours worth of work, however much time I spent on that thing, because nobody made a quick change subframe for it. I had to use, you know, plumb bombs on strings to try and get it level, going down the chassis to keep it, you know, straight, and welded little steel rods that came down and pointed right at the center of the axles of the factory drift, so I could center it. You know, there's 4 axes of movement that you have to center that thing on to get it to straight. So it was just a lot of work to get it in there. So I don't really want to throw all that away, but quick changes are expensive. So I don't really have the budget for that right now. We got a lot more other places we could throw $5,000 at the pro car and make it that much better. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
We got to get those light up hats going. You need a party car.
seriously, I do. I'm gonna grab another Hawaiian Sun here real quick. I need
Go
some
for it.
A Hawaiian Sun is crazy. That's what he's got. Hell yeah.
I'm tempted to go put up my cone on and see if he's into it because that's what I'm gonna be
Pastel
for
guava.
Halloween. Oh, that
Oh
looks
hell
good.
yeah! Oh yeah, these ones are the best ones. Yeah, strawberry guava is pretty good too, but this one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna go through 24 ounces before the day's over.
Yeah. Phil asks, do you have a favorite driver that you've liked to battle or drive against, and one that not so much? Probably just a guy that you've, you know.
I'd like to. I mean, I guess I did battle James in Salt Lake City, but I want to battle him again, hopefully with a faster car.
Right.
Because I held my own in the lead. Like, that was our best lead lap of the day, and I think I kind of threw him off a little bit because I think he thought we were going to be a little bit slower. He didn't really like catch my door until like the final zone, and I feel like if I could have at least stayed in a comfortable position, like he was through the first two corners, and then own up on the final zone, which is actually, in my opinion, pretty easy to do in that section of the track rather than on entry and through the other outside zone. I think we could have gone one more time. So I'd like to battle him, I think, because just he's the best of the best. He's the benchmark. So, and he's a great dude, super nice guy.
Oh yeah,
so
I love James.
Yeah, whatever happened out there, I think we'd still come off and shake hands and have a great time, and then who I don't want to battle.
That's a good question, honestly.
Well,
I want to say Jeff because I wouldn't want to like
knock out your boy.
Yeah, like it kind of sucks. Like I wouldn't want to like, and then we're both Kumo, the only two Kumo drivers, so it would take one of us, like type thing.
Well, it's like, is there a driver that you just find unique to drive with, or just he does things differently?
Connor.
Really?
I was just gonna say probably Connor.
Yeah, Connor's like deceivingly fast. He doesn't throw like the most angle in the car, but dude, that kid is fast. I know he doesn't have the fastest car out there.
Right.
So like,
even in Sam Magmumi's car.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's just
absolutely insane.
He's a ripper, and and he's just deceptively fast. Like you don't think that that car that he's driving is going to allow him to drive that fast, but he almost like somehow goes beyond the limits of what the car's capable of, in my opinion. And he's just freaking fast. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, I got like one or two more topics that I was going to get to. Andy, if you need to head out, that's perfectly fine too. You've been on here for almost 2 hours.
I'm good.
So
I'm here at the shop. I'll
right.
head out there and get some stuff done. And
he's stocked up on the Hawaiians. He's ready. Hey,
yeah, I just cracked it. Yeah,
hit them up for a sponsor, dude.
Cracked it.
Yeah. So
not a bad idea.
Before the show, I was trying to do a little bit of research on this. It's called the FIA Motorsports Games. It's kind of what I would think would be maybe like a little bit of an Olympics or like a World Cup of motorsports kind of thing. And I'm gonna quick pull her up here on the old screen so that you guys can see what I'm looking at.
They can't call it a World Cup if they don't have any American drivers in it.
Yeah, so obviously this series I didn't think had any Americans in it. You had Jakob, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. It's like Brzolski or something. Yeah. He's a super good driver that drives DMEC. One for Poland. You got Simon Olsen second, and Joachim Andersen, and another DMEC driver from Sweden gets third. And I'm just going to play some of this video in the background. You can kind of see some of the cars. It was kind of cool because some of the guys ended up changing their chassis to like represent some of the colors or the flags that they're representing. Like you see the Great Britain flag on the E36 there. You can see the Portugal flag and the Sweden one. Like I think it's kind of fun, and it's a cool idea to where, I mean, it would be hard to do, but it would be cool to have an actual World Cup of drifting, or like where you literally each major country gets like 3 drivers they get to pick, and they get to send them out.
I was gonna say 2, yeah.
like
2, 3, yep.
yeah, it would just two drivers and just so let's say you pick 30 countries, you get 60 drivers out there and stuff, and it would be really fun to see just to like for some pride,
I think we'd almost suffer on that one because it's like James would drive for Ireland, Frederick would drive for Norway, and Odie would drive for Estonia. This is Estonian, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we get Vaughn
so let's see if you can get this right, Andy. I know the answer.
Yeah.
Let's see if you guys can get it right. Who is the highest ranked American driver in Formula Drift this year?
Ah, dang. Dad's got a quiz for us.
Adam LZ?
Yeah.
Adam all right, LZ, there you go.
Highest ranked. And can you imagine MLZ? You remember when he came into Pro Spec with the S15? Mm-hmm. Was it 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Now he's doing this, in his E36. It is such a crazy transition for him, and everyone would give him shit. Like, obviously he had his fans, but like the drivers, not the drivers, but like drifters would be like, okay, yeah, he's a new guy on the block. He's just here for his YouTube channel kind of thing. Like, okay, he's not that great.
I was one of those guys.
Yeah. And then
I mean, that boy can drive, dude. But he's also learned a lot. Like when he came into the series, he wasn't the driver that he is now.
Right. Yeah.
And,
I liked his car his first season. I was like, damn, that boy fucking. I'm like, that thing is hot.
What I really liked about it is that it had like no sponsor logos.
Literally, it was just empty.
That was the cool part.
It was just a sick.
Like, they just have nothing on it, and I was like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
But seeing him progress over the years like that, dude, he's a wheelman. He really is. He's really good at what he does, and good at putting together a program and all that. Yeah. And he ain't no slouch.
Exactly. No, it would be an interesting concept though to kind of like, how would you even do it? Like, would you just do like trials, basically, how they do for the Olympics for each country, and like how would you?
I think taking the top 3 ranked drivers, from their country. Obviously, we have no American drivers on our top 3 championship podium this year, right. But that would be the idea. Would be to take the 3, or I mean, if you wanted to do it with less drivers, I would say just go, and if you ignored the part of representing a country, I would say take the top 3 FD champion drivers, take the top 3 DMAC guys, take the top 3 from the Middle East where they compete out there, take the top 3 from D1 and see what happens, type thing, regardless of what countries they're from.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a Champions League almost, more like in soccer that they do.
Yep.
Where it's like the top teams from each league basically come and compete.
Yep. Or the Olympics with basketball or whatever, where they're taking guys from all sorts of different teams that have never played together and throwing them together on an all-star team type thing. Yeah.
So I guess the question is anyone going to beat Ireland?
I
mean, Norway would give them a run for their money, but like, that's the thing is like,
it's doubtful. I mean, Osbo and Odie, like I could see them, being up there for sure, and Connor as well.
Connor's Irish.
Yeah, so that's they got a strong team.
They got like Dwayne McKeever over there, and like all these rippers. It's like, jeez, OP.
He is an animal.
Yeah, I just wish that dude had like more than $5 to spend on his damn car, because like that thing is a pile.
But somehow
don't talk about that beautiful pile of shit.
Still, it looks sick though.
It does look sick. I don't care what it looks like underneath all
those. He still does, what he does, and he ends up, driving with the best of the best and going against James and Connor. Other people.
Finland with Laura Heinonen would be an interesting one as well. But no, it would be a fun concept, because that's like a conversation we've had in the past, is like the cool thing with DMEC is you get all of the countries competing against each other in DMEC, so it's kind of like a little bit of nationalism. We don't really get that with like the states with DMEC or Driftmat or Formula Drift, because like state pride really isn't really a thing unless it's like football, Then you got like college or whatever. So it's a
None of
li-
those
it's
people are actually prideful about it. Actually, play football either. So that's the weird part.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
facts.
just one of those things where it's like it would be fun to like try and add an element of like even like Phil was like, hey, is the East Coast or the West Coast better? Like could have
Mm-hmm.
some fun with that kind of thing and
Yep.
whatnot.
Yep.
But no, I mean it's one of those. It would be a lot of fun. Malik makes a good point too. Poland is also stacked. You got Peter Visick over there, and
Mm-hmm.
the guy that won Piscol, or it's not Piscolti,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
whatever that dude's last name is. I'll be honest, like that dude's last name has so many consonants in wrong places. I'm just like, good luck. I don't know how you guys
Uh,
say that stuff. But
Makes me wonder if they look at American names funny too. They're like, "What is this?"
I don't know though, dude. Our names aren't that long. Like,
No, they're
Yeah,
pretty.
but they put an extra little pizzazz on it because
Yeah.
they're used to the hardest things ever.
Yeah. It's like they made all our names simple when our ancestors came from Ellis Island, and they simplified all our names because they
Yeah,
couldn't.
literally.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My life in the piss asked, do you think Japan still is in the conversation
yeah.
for best drivers in the world? And it's hard to say that
Mm-hmm.
they are because they had. When's the last time a Japanese drivers won a major championship outside of like
Mm-hmm.
their own?
I mean, Hiroa might next year, man. That kid's
And
learning fast.
yeah, there you
That's a
go.
great
Yeah.
rookie
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah.
He did get caught for his, I don't want to say like his little semantics, but like his little things that he does, like his battle at Irwindale with Dylan Hughes.
Yeah.
His normal driving bit him in the ass,
Mm-hmm.
and it is due. I think it's genuinely, everybody's like, oh well, he's a sim driver. I'm like, well, I don't really drive like that on the sim. Not gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
he's 14, 15 or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
the kid's just driving 1,000 horsepower
Yeah.
mobile, dude. He's just trying
Let
to
him
make it
figure it
work.
out.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
dude's
Yeah.
he's just he doesn't even know our language.
Yep. Yep.
He's tackling like 16 different fucking things at one
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And
On top of the fact that he's not exactly in his time zone while he's driving here,
yeah,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
going to school or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
like at least even homeschool, whatever he might be
Yep.
doing, he's doing
Yep.
that.
Yep.
He's being a teenage kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to trying to do that.
No.
He's just trying to get around the course.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, and
oh,
it's such a it's weird because I hear his throttle and it's just like net 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 net.
yeah,
It just sounds so different than everyone else because
Mm-hmm.
when I hear a lot of the FD cars around, it's like pinned and like you guys basically have your limiters set or your wheel speed set so that you don't have to pedal it as much around major
Mm-hmm.
corners and stuff. And it's just when I hear his throttle, it's like completely different than everyone else's. And like
oh for
like
sure.
we've already talked about the speed difference that he does in between his chase and leads, but it's like I'm curious to see how he goes about his future drifting career of like
Mm-hmm.
is he going to change to a more American style or is he going to because I think Kazuya kind of drives similar to him in some ways too, just the way that he goes about driving his car, or at
Yeah.
least, just visually, and it might just be even how what's the Jerry Yang might it might even be how Jerry Yang sets up the car,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's another thing that I guess I haven't really brought up is like these guys kind of drive similar. Yes, they're from Japan, but the guy who's sending the cars up is Jerry Yang. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
so there's a whole lot of like elements to that kind of question. But yeah, I mean, it's still incredible what he's able to do, what his family, that whole story. It's really fun to see.
Next generation.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
on the sort of topic of like chassis and style and all that, how are you liking the BMW chassis that you're in now? Do you love it? You're going to keep it forever? Do you have plans to change it up at all in the future?
Not anytime soon. I'm real familiar with it. The front suspension is exactly the same as what was on the E30, steering rack, everything. So it's just, to me, it feels like an E30 moving in slow motion. And I got 7 years of training driving the E30, so it's
Okay.
I'm finally swinging one bat instead of two, basically. Is the way that I'm seeing it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Not anytime soon. It's a very capable chassis. We haven't done everything we can with it yet, and they're relatively inexpensive to come by. So it's just financially, it's a good choice as well.
Right.
And yeah, I like the way it drives
Good
for
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Jason asks, how do you feel about the judging consistency, and like the he says the competition director consistency this season. I assume that's like talking about like rules and stuff and all that kind of jazz. I mean, obviously you had that whole incident in
Hmm.
St. Louis, but
Yeah,
um,
that was a bummer.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. That was a big
paint
time bummer. And
paint gate.
yeah, and
yeah,
I think that FD did everything they could to fix it, and I
hmm,
don't think it'll happen again. I
right,
think it was just a matter of doubling back on a double back.
hmm,
But I mean, technically, it was an unofficial petition kind of deal because
yeah,
Derek's guys came up and complained about it. I like the fact that like it's not a hard zero for straightening and stuff like
okay,
that because that kind of can happen, when you're in the chase and just a small minor mistake like that shouldn't be considered a zero. I mean, it's the same as
yeah,
if you ran a little bit wide and dropped a tire or whatever. Like it's a small
hmm,
mistake that you can recover from really quickly, and I think how quickly you recover from it is what's more important.
okay,
So yeah, I didn't have any issues with any of the stuff that I judged, and it was such a busy year that I didn't really have the time to look at a lot of other battles this year.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll probably go through it and watch every round again. Probably in some downtime at SEMA or something like that, or when I get back
exactly,
here. But man, you're so busy at the rounds, in between the rounds, all this stuff that a lot of times we just don't see much of it.
right,
So it's hard to have an opinion on it yet.
yeah.
But I
The only
didn't have
stuff you
any.
see is like the dramatic ones, it's like, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I didn't have any judging decisions where like I thought I won and
Right.
they didn't give it to me or whatever. That didn't happen this year. The
Yeah.
only one I'd say I have an issue with was, and I do see why they made the decision. I don't know if it was just because of the nature of the mistakes or what,
Right.
but I
Yeah, I
think he
remember
did a
that.
better job of dealing with my mistakes than I did dealing with his mistakes, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And visually, I could see, why he won, but I
Hmm.
definitely wasn't happy with it because we both messed up.
Right.
Basically, we both had major mistakes in the same section of the track.
Right.
So I would like to see one more times come back,
Yeah, it seemed like
or at
there weren't
least,
many
or at
this
least
year. Like there
oh
was
well,
like,
the seating battles there are no one
yeah,
more times. So
Right.
I
right.
really like to see that happen. And
I mean, it's not like we don't have time for it. Like the seating bracket ended early every round.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. I think that's the point. They don't want to go home. Yeah.
So the big change this year was no more protests. Do you
Mhm.
think that really had a large effect on at least your season? Would you like to see him come back? Did it not matter?
Didn't they
Um,
kind of bring him back after the Adam thing?
Not
Sort of.
really.
Okay. I'm
yeah,
trying to
I
remember.
mean, you could still go complain, but there's no official protest essentially, and that's what I did with the paint, situation in
Yeah, yeah.
Salt and in St. Louis, and I think that should have been a valid protest. I mean, he was allowed to protest essentially by going up and complaining about the paint.
Yeah, yeah.
So why wasn't I allowed to protest the decisions made out there and the fact that
Right.
my lead lap was pretty much perfect and I drove through two more outside zones than he did with my
Right.
tires in the paint the whole time. So
Hmm.
that was my argument, and they all agreed, like, yeah, like all the FD staff, they're like, yeah, you got screwed, but there's nothing they could do about it
Right.
essentially,
Hmm.
other than how hopefully it doesn't happen again in the future to anyone else.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I still got paint on my camera from that event. I still got orange
Really?
specks. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know whatever they were using. Like I had my camera right next to where they were spray painting. I would be
Yeah.
the second wall, so outer two
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
yeah, I still got specks of paint on it.
From my car.
No, just from them spraying it.
Oh, from them spraying it. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because the
Wow.
camera was over there.
Yeah, that was like a thick
They were
latex.
like using like a weird machine, like an
Yeah.
actual spray paint machine for that event
Mm-hmm.
compared to their normal like
I
stuff that
hate
they
that
do.
machine.
He's like,
Screw me.
I'm gonna go tip that thing over next year.
Right.
Hopefully, it's not even there.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Obviously, Malik asked a question here. He's like, dream competition build. Do you have like a dream chassis that you really think would be fun to compete in, or?
I mean, the E46 I'm pretty content with, to be
Right.
honest. I'm trying to think of another chassis that I would like to compete with.
I mean, just something that's different. Like what catches your eye that's like, that would be sweet,
I mean, I'd like to try driving a lot of cars. I'm not sure if I would
Yeah.
want to dedicate to a whole season.
Oh, wasn't it? Or was
Yeah, it was. Yeah, my buddy Brad's car. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it had like 10-year-old PBM coilovers where the adjusters had broken off on them, and had T56, and
that's where the well setup comes in. There's like a little asterisk on that.
yeah, I'd like to try a well set up one, because even like when I drove that, it was just so much easier to drive than even the E30. So, and it's not a requirement, but it has been suggested. They run those on NASCAR and other stuff.
What's a wheel tether?
I don't know exactly how it works, but I believe it tethers the wheel.
How?
I like that.
I don't know.
That's a crazy cool idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it mounts to the hub itself. It probably tethers it to the hub, because the hub would rotate with the tether. So if the lug nuts broke,
Right.
yeah.
Hold on a second there, buddy.
Just wheel into the blender.
Chuck just said that the guy would have been fine with the wheel flying at him as long as he had a high-vis vest on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, then the wheel knows to go the other direction. Whoa, there's a man there. Let me bounce this way.
Yeah.
Dude, what a great time to have a cone hat.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you
Could save your life. You never know.
Yeah. Phil asks, do you think what do you think of the Drift Masters he says should you get rid of comp timeouts like Drift Masters, which I feel like there is comp timeouts in Drift Masters. They're just like very specific scenarios where like if you get hit, you get a chance to fix your car kind of thing.
That's good.
They have 2 minutes on the track to do it.
Right. But if you get crashed into, you get a chance to fix your car, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say keep them, just in the sense that like I don't want to win like that. That never feels good.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think that they really slow down
I agree.
comp as much as people think they do. I think it's literally just FD's lack of awareness and taking advantage of dead track time. And like we talked about this last Sarah and I talked about it last week about not taking advantage of when cars do break.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're in the finals, it's not really going to affect the time schedule that much. You just run the next battle and then get them when they're done. You know.
And I think it adds a layer of excitement, because personally for me, I'm always rooting for the underdog. So I want to see, like, let's say someone got put in the wall, like Rad Dan last event, and his team was able to get the car back and make it to the line. Sure, it's probably not 100%, but I just want to see the competition continue. I want to see everyone like make it and beat the odds and all that stuff. And I think it adds that like nice little.
That's an accomplishment in itself. Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Right.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like something that I really appreciate about the sport. It's cool how Drift Masters does move so quickly, but I think a lot of that has to do with being prepped with all the other aspects of the sport, making sure the guys are in the burnout box. Judges' decisions seem to be quicker. Like, they just seem to run the other aspects of the sport much quicker and faster than FD does, because FD seems to like to take their times, especially with the commercial breaks, which I get. You got to make your money. It's a different scenario with Red Bull, because Red Bull pays for it all and does it all, so you don't get the commercials, which there's that part of it. But like, still, I think there's little things, and Sarah and I talked about it last week, like there's ways that you can get the commercials out where you need them, but then also, make sure making sure the show is moving along, and whatnot. But I think that we hit almost everything that I had to
I was gonna
cover.
say I got all my good questions out. This was very eye opening.
Yeah. Well, I
Yay.
got one question. When was the last
Sean,
time
do you have a question for Andy Haley?
Question for Andy Haley?
Yeah, come on into the chat.
Yeah, I got a question for Andy real quick while he takes his time.
Okay.
When was the last time your chin? When was the last time your chin felt air?
Oh my god.
Before I built the E46, actually, when I started the build, I told myself I wasn't going to shave until it was done, and then Drift Wizard stuff happened, so now it's kind of my persona now.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good luck now. I think
But
you gotta
also,
keep
like,
it.
Dad kept hassling about
Where
it
you going?
even before I did
Oh,
the
yeah.
Drift
No
Wizard.
question.
Like, he's like, you said you were going to shave when you're done, and I'm like, yeah, the car's never done. Like, we're constantly improving it. We're constantly working on it. I got to go out there and build a bash bar right now. It's still not done.
That's the joke.
You know? Yeah,
That's
I
the
started
joke.
this thing in 2020 or 2021, and yeah, it's still not done. So
Wow.
Fair
I guess
enough.
Beard stays as long as the E46 stays.
I like
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it for the wizard.
Yeah. Technically, Andy Luck can shave it at any moment, though, because we made a bet at Orlando. He's like, if you win it, I'm going to shave your beard. And I was like, all right, bet. And, like, won it. And he's like, yeah, I was waiting for him to come by with a razor blade, and he never did.
Oh my
right.
gosh.
Oh man.
You gotta
Yeah.
give me okay, and I'm gonna make this a requirement for everyone that comes on. You need to give me one good Andy Luck story.
I think that was it.
That's a pretty good Andy Luck story.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good
a
one,
pretty
man.
good Andy Luck story right there.
Yeah.
Everybody's got like an Andy Luck bet against them.
Oh, everyone has
somehow.
a story with Andy Luck. Somehow
Yeah.
That's
he
what,
has-
like Matt and Ricky. It was like a bet of like, all right, whoever loses gets a pie in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's right.
Ricky-
They did that this year.
Yeah,
In Atlanta, yeah.
you got it on camera.
Yeah. That was so funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so yeah, Andy Luck definitely he's been around the block.
For sure.
Yeah. Damn. Wow. Well, we've been live for 2.5 hours, and it's pretty.
Sean,
Our
you have any
longest
questions?
one yet.
Yeah.
Yay.
At the moment.
All right, he's coming back.
Hold on.
What's he got? What do you got?
Goofballs.
He just competed this past weekend in a stock K. Sarah mentioned him very well.
I got something for Sarah though. My
Uh-oh.
last name is Fry.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Fry.
Why
Not
did they?
for-
The sheet they gave me is Frey.
Why?
Yeah,
That's how you pronounce it.
I
Fry.
pronounce it.
That's
I
Frey.
use-
That's how you say
Frey.
Frey. But
She's like,
okay.
all right, whatever.
You called him Frey the whole weekend, or what?
I did,
Right.
yeah. So I
Right.
announced that. But hey, listen, in the driver's meeting, I did say if I'm saying anything goofy, like I'm saying a sponsor wrong, you need me to say something special.
Listen,
And
in the
Phil did take
driver's
advantage of
meeting, There's
that,
a bunch
so.
of
Yeah.
stance guys doing two steps. Nobody could hear nothing.
Fair enough. I did yell at them. I don't know if you saw me. I hopped a fence and I was like, hey, everyone's making fun of you up there.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that because that's weird. And then the
Well,
next
that's
guy
good.
with a Challenger, I was like, hey, does the bank know what you're doing to their car right now? And he
Damn.
kind of just stared at me.
All right, got him going. I respect it. I respect it.
No, I mean, it's all right. I will now. I know how to
You have
pronounce
no
your name.
drifting
That
questions?
means you got to
Dude,
come
you
back
gotta-
out.
You put me on the damn spot. I don't know.
Well, I asked you, and then
I
you
have a
walked in.
question. So
Yes.
I always, whenever I'm doing interviews or anything, I always want to make sure that I give you guys a moment to shout people out. So is there anything that you
That's
want
right.
people to know about you? Any sponsors you want to thank? Anything you want to sort of like cap it off with?
This goes to Andy and Sean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I'd say, come buy a Drift Wizard hat when I get the website up. Come out to one of the events. Big thanks to Kumo Tire because our season wouldn't have happened without them. I wasn't, and Evil Auto Works as well, because they came in with, Kumo came in with the tire support, and Evil came in with the financial support, and 2 weeks before Long Beach, like. I didn't know if we were going to make it through the whole season. The plan was to do the first 4 events and see how much money we spent and see how it went. And with those 2 sponsors that came on, we've made it through. And then the Wizard hats came out of nowhere and helped even more. And this is our best season financially we've ever had. So I'm pretty sure we're pretty close to being in the green, but I don't think we're in the green.
That's an
But,
accomplishment.
But just being close is something we've never even thought was possible. So
That's great.
just big thanks to Kumo, big thanks to Evil, and yeah, all other sponsors, Magnuson and StopTech and 2F Performance, and who else is on the car? Anti-gravity batteries, all just great supporters of the program. NRG with the seats they gave me that have a T-Rex on the back.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
yeah,
we talked about it earlier. If anyone missed it, I asked him if he had a website for his hats yet. He does not yet. But what I would say is go find him on Instagram. Of course, follow him if you aren't already, and just hit him up in a little bit.
Yep.
After SEMA, give him some time,
Yep.
and
Yep.
hopefully he'll be able to hook you guys up with a hat if you want to get one or some other merch. And personally, I want a little Lego guy, so I'm gonna grab one
Hell
next
yeah.
time I see you.
All right. Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
So
My buddy
cool.
Scott put those together. He brought one to Salt Lake City last year, just as a gift, just one of them. And I hit him up and I was like, "Yo, can you make me 50 of these things?" And he's like,
Sick.
"Let me look into it." And he comes back with a full price sheet of the price of each piece and all this stuff. And they ended up being financially easy to do. So got those things made, and yeah, I love the little Lego guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
Sick. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm stoked to sit here and talk with you. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
So,
no,
Well,
it didn't.
to
It
be
didn't.
fair, the first 20 minutes was me trying to fuck with audio.
yeah. And me
Yeah.
just nerding out about his stock 350Z.
Yep. Those were the
Poor
days.
guy.
Yeah,
Cool.
unfortunately, I wanted to have Andy on first because, like, I know that you are amazing at talking. We've had great times for the last probably 4 or 5 years now, and
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you being a good sport for me messing it up because
You're good.
I figured it out, but it's just
You're
like
good, man. I
That's my
appreciate
dad.
you for
So yeah,
coming
you
out
beat
the event,
him.
sitting in the sun and filming us, man. Like, yeah, you're the heart and soul behind half the videos I freaking post,
Yeah.
So thank you, man.
Yeah, it's
I did my job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You did a great job, and you got a friend now.
Yeah, exactly. And
I used to think that Nate honestly used to hate me. Like the first event that I ever met Nate, honestly,
Yeah.
Andy, was like Hyperfest, like 2015.
yeah,
I think he was there,
Yeah.
and we were both just hanging out, like where all the main action is. And I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? Like, he's got his tripod out. I'm handheld,
yeah.
and he looked like he hated his entire life. And I was like, man, this guy doesn't want any part of me. And then all of a sudden, like, I started shooting FD. I was doing pro spec stuff, and he came up to me randomly and told me some wacky joke, like really, really good, like deep down, like fucked up type style. And I was like, I thought this guy fucking hated me.
No, it's just his face. He
Everyone
has like
says
the
that too. Like,
final boss of RBF. This guy has.
You really do got a really mean RBF. It is
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah. Well, it is. I do have one more question from Chuck, and it's: would you rather fight 100 Nate-sized ducks or 100 duck-sized Nates?
No, he's doing it wrong. So it's either
Okay.
100 Nate-sized ducks or one duck-sized Nate. Wait, I did it backwards.
No, you did. Yes.
Okay.
I'll take the giant duck-sized. Wait, no. Yes.
Nate-sized duck.
Nate-sized duck. Yes, I'll take that
Okay,
one.
so you're taking the big guy instead of all the little guys.
Yeah, just being like attacked by a bunch of things at once, it's too much to concentrate on. At least you get to focus on one thing,
Yeah.
And if you like pulled off the feathers like right around the groin area, you might expose his duck penis. He might get nervous and just run away. So, I think that's the move.
Such a
You just grab those low feathers and just pull
that
them
would
off.
be a wizard way of fighting, I would say.
So you're going with the grab his dick and twist it method.
Pretty much, yeah.
Solid.
Grab the feathers and twist it. Yeah.
And then we killed
Excellent.
Herbie, so
Herbie just leaves randomly. We're used to it.
Yeah. He got offended because maybe he's got feathers down there or something. Yeah.
He's like,
awesome,
don't talk
guys.
about
Well,
dicks.
I appreciate again everyone hanging out. Go check out Herbie and Sara on Instagram as well. Obviously, you need to be following Andy. He posts some of the best social media content in FD. Honestly,
thank you, sir.
And I absolutely love it. So again,
I'm just a purveyor of goofy shit.
Hell yeah.
Again, thank you for everyone hanging out. Again, apologies for the beginning, but finally got it done. So thank you guys
Yeah.
again. And
You want to send Nate an
time,
angry email about the audio things? You know,
Do
his
it.
address is
do it. Tell me I'm a dumbass because I deserve it. You know.
Great first guest. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming on with us.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
thank you guys.